Hey, well, greetings and salutations, everyone, on another Tuesday afternoon. We hope that you guys are doing well and staying safe. We appreciate the great number of members that are coming to join us for our Canvas trainings. I'll repeat something that was just said, that our Canvas training part 1 is on our YouTube channel. So if you missed last week's session and you want to kind of go back and kind of navigate through some of the real basics of Canvas, then you could do that. However, our trainers are great enough that they're going to be able to help you still tonight. We have Q&A that you could add at the bottom. Everybody's cameras and everyone's microphones are off, so that way we could deliver the lessons here. We are very happy to offer this and proud to have Michelle Thomas King, Tina Finn, and we have Dr. Laura here. Dr. Laura Van Staden is also with us tonight, helping us with, this will be Canvas Basics Part 2, I guess, Canvas, the sequel. With that, I hand the mic over to you guys, and thank you for all of the guidance and help that you're giving all of us. So thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Well, I guess tonight it's my turn to kick off the festivities. So today we are going a little bit deeper into our Canvas journey. So first round, we talked about navigation and kind of how to get around Canvas. If you guys still have questions about getting around Canvas, please put them in the chat. We will definitely answer them in the chat. I also posted up here how to log into Canvas in case anybody needs to know. I literally just added it before we started. So if you still need to know how to get on Canvas or you forgot, you can go through Clever, which is the blue C icon that I have on the screen, or you can just type that link directly into a Google Chrome browser, and that will also log you into Canvas. So you're either going to go through Clever, or you can go through the link directly in the Google Chrome browser. So today we're going to talk about modules, how to create a module, and kind of understand what you can do with modules and all the things that come with it. We'll also talk about pages, exactly what pages are, how do you make pages, what can you do with pages, and then we're going to end talking about assignments. So, like what exactly constitutes an assignment, how do you make them, and I think we're also going to cover a little bit about how to do weighting if that's something you're interested in as well when we talk about assignments. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I'm going to switch to my Google browser real quick. Okay. So I am currently sharing with you one of my sandboxes. And in here, I kind of have some modules already set up. So I'm going to tell you how I got to my modules. So once you log in to Canvas, and then that, again, you can go through Clever and click on the Canvas icon, or you can do sdhc.instructure.com. You can see it up here at the top, right there. sdhc.instructure.com. So either through Clever or that link. When you get into your sandbox, so from your dashboard, you're going to go to your sandbox. So when you first log in, you start on your dashboard, which is here. And then you find your sandbox, which should be up at the top or at the bottom. I have lots of courses, so there's a few, but you're going to click on your sandbox. And then once you are in your sandbox, you are going to click modules. So your dashboard, then your sandbox, and then modules. I'm going to give everybody a chance to get logged in and get to your sandbox and modules.
So lots of questions already. Sandboxes, that is your, that should be the only course basically that you have with your name on it currently. Think of it as your play box. A sandbox is what you play, you create. That's what this course is about. You should only have one. We have several because we are instructors and we've been fooling around trying to recreate many different things. So, but you guys should have one.
Yes, correct. And I wanted to go back to my dashboard and kind of show you what that looks like for me. So yours will say more than likely your first name, your last name, sandbox. So like this was a second sandbox I had. That's why it says that. But yours, so for example, if it was Rob's, it would say Rob Creets Sandbox, basically. So it should be your first name, your last name, and then sandbox at the end. And that would be your sandbox. All right. So once you are in your sandbox, if you've been playing around in your sandbox, you may already have modules. If you have not been playing in your sandbox, when you click modules, there will be nothing there. So there will be nothing in your modules at all. So you are going to go ahead and add a module. So a module, you can kind of think of it like a folder. That's kind of how I think of modules. So it's almost like a folder. If you were making a folder to hold certain papers, you would, label your folder with whatever you wanted to put in there. So you're going to click on the little blue button that says plus module, right? So that's how you add a module. So you click plus module, and then it will come up with a box, and they'll ask you to name it something. All right, and I'll show you again how I got there. So once you get into your sandbox and you click modules, you're gonna go ahead and find the blue button. It's gonna be in the top right side. It will say plus module. You click that, and then a little box will open, and you will call your module something. And again, to me, modules are like folders. So however you normally would organize folders, you could organize your modules in much of the same way. And I'll give you guys a chance to add a module and kind of name it whatever you want. So I'm going to call this one that I'm making a sample unit module. All right, ladies, are there any questions in the box? Any specific ones?
Okay, so in the example that Michelle has on her dashboard, she has modules right under home. That's how she created it when she was in her course navigation. So if you want to move your modules up underneath home, move your assignments, you can do all that if you go into settings and into your navigations. I think this is probably from the last time we were fooling around in it,
Yes.
and that's where we left it.
Yes.
Some people are saying they already have their Canvas, they already have all their courses loaded into Canvas. Bravo for you guys.
Awesome, lucky.
And I say very cautiously, be careful, because if that class should be deleted, because changes are happening on a daily basis, and you have all your stuff uploaded into that course and it gets deleted, it's gone, goodbye, it'll never come back. So Sandbox is a great place to upload it, move it into Commons as we showed you last week, so that you always have a safe place for it.
Yes.
But if you start loading into Canvas now before everything, I'm just very cautious, because I've seen things change very quickly recently. If it loses it, I will tell you this right now, it takes an act of God for them to recreate your course in Canvas. And I really don't think God is at Hillsborough right now.
No.
I just feel that way sometimes, but y'all just might want to just put it in, do it in your sandbox, and then upload it to Commons.
And I want to point out that when you first log into Canvas right now, the district has actually posted a link to a YouTube video to teach you how to move stuff from your sandbox into your course. So like if you're feeling hesitant right now, because they're still working on schedules and rosters and all that jazz, if you want to keep building in your sandbox and then move stuff over, the district did push out a global announcement to everybody at the top when you first log in, and there is a link to a YouTube video on there that shows you how to move your content from your sandbox course into your actual course, and it'll be like right up at the top of your screen when you first log in like your global announcements. So basically, once you have a module in your sandbox, for me personally, the way that I like to organize my modules is by unit, because that's how I organize folders, on my computer. So if I make a new folder, I'll call it unit something, and then I kind of put everything for that unit within that folder. Obviously, this will depend on you and how you organize, but it may also depend on what you teach. If you teach elementary, then maybe you may want to organize by topic if you're in, you know, one of the lower elementary levels where you may have, you know, self-contained, let's say, or if you're in a higher elementary level and you have all of the subjects all together all day, then maybe you want a module for math, a module for science, you know, a module for social studies, a module for reading. So it depends on how you want to do the organization. But modules to me are like folders that you use to organize material. Like you just use it to kind of sort everything and keep yourself organized. So once you have a module created, you can put different things inside of your module, right? So I have one in here that I kind of was playing with yesterday. So this is one of my sample modules. So this is like my unit 1 sample. So within here, I have these headers and I'm clicking on it right now and nothing's happening because it's just a header, right? So you basically cannot click it and the kids can't click it. It's just for organization purposes. Over here where the check marks are, you can choose to publish or unpublish. So one of the things we talked about was that if it's not published, the kids can't see it, right? So if you don't hit that check mark, like this one here, if I don't click that, the kids can't see anything, which if you don't want them to see it yet, you wouldn't publish it yet, right? So with headers, they kind of work the same way. So the header could just be for you so that you know that that's the bell work that you want to give to the kids that week. So maybe you wouldn't publish that. So when the kids log in on Student View, all they see is this bell work and this bell work, but they don't see this where it says bell work for the week, right? So that gives you a little bit more room for organization purposes. So I'm talking about this header, and the way you would create it is within the module itself. So in my unit 1 module, I would come over to the plus sign, and that plus sign allows me to add different things. So again, if I want to put a header in here just to tell me that this is the start of a section within my folder, basically within my module, I would go to that module, go all the way across to the plus sign, click that plus sign, and then I want to add a header. And that would be here where it says text header. And then you would name it something, whatever you want. Maybe I want to call it quizzes, right? And then I would add that. So every time I made a quiz, I would put it under there. So now I have 3 sections in my unit 1 folder. Questions. Ladies, I didn't click on the questions. Any?
Yep. So we're getting a lot of questions. A lot of people still having a little bit of trouble getting into their sandbox and starting a module.
Sure.
So you're going to go over to the far side. That very, very left-hand strip is called Global Navigation. You're going to go to the dashboard, which should be the 3rd one down. And you're going to click on that. And then you should have a sandbox. It might be at the top in published courses. It might be down near the bottom in unpublished courses. If you don't see it in either of those, it's possible you were playing around and it's not starred. Then you would go to courses, which is right under dashboard. You would go to all courses and click on that. And then you will see a list of all your courses. Anything that does not have a star by it is not going to show up on your dashboard. So then if it doesn't have a star, put a star next to it and it will be on your dashboard. Once it's on your dashboard, click on the tile, which they call a card for that course. And at the very top right, there should be a plus module.
And remember, you want to click where it says modules. If it doesn't automatically take you here, you want to click where it says modules in your little navigation here on the left side. And then you can click the blue button that says plus module. And I'm going to give you guys a second to go ahead and create a module and any questions that you might have. All right, so I see can't type in the text header box. So one of the things that could happen if you already made a header, one thing that I have noticed is that if I've made a header, it won't always let me add it for some reason. It's almost like it gets stuck, like I already did it. So one of the things that I will do sometimes is, let's say that I come back in to make another header. One of the things that I'll do is I'll click add, and then you see how add item is kind of grayed out. I'll just kind of click here, pick something else that I don't want to add, and then go back to text header. And then underneath it where it says header, I'll just type, you know, something like that. And then click add item. And then it'll show up at the bottom. Now, once your header is made, let's say you want to change it, you can go to the 3 dots that are on the far right side, and then you can hit edit, and it will let you change it. So if you want to change what your header says, you go over to the right, and you find the 3 dots on the right side of the name of your header, and you hit edit, and then you can name it whatever you want to change the name to. So this could be good for a few different reasons. So I know that there will probably be another session where we talk about home pages after this, because I know that that's one thing that people really wanted to know about was home pages. So this could be good for something like a home page if you want to send the students to a specific part, you know, from your homepage, like, or if you want to send them to a specific area, like you want to send them to the Unit 1 module, right? So let's say that you have Unit 1 on, you know, your homepage, right? And you can send them straight here. It could be good if you send your kid, if you just want your students to come to modules, when they come here, what they will see is the way that it's organized like this. So let me show you from the student view what this would look like so that you can kind of see the implications for a student and how this could really help them find what you want them to find. Because, you know, I'm sure I'm not the only one that has students that are like, Miss, I can't find it. I don't know where it is. Like, Miss, but where is it? I don't see it. Right. So this kind of helps you because you could say, okay, well, I want you to go to, you know, Unit 1. Right. And then in Unit 1, I want you to go to the bell work part of Unit 1 and find the bell work from 825, right? So when the kids go to modules, then they will find the Unit 1 module, because you would have named it Unit 1 if that's what you're going to call it. And then once they open the Unit 1 module, they'll see bell work, and they'll know that that's the bell work. And then now here's the bell work for 825. So this helps you kind of keep your students organized as well so that they can find stuff. So let me take you to the student view so that you can see what that looks like. I don't think I have a home page set in this sandbox. Okay, 1 second. All right, let me go to settings. Oh, I guess I do. And my computer is going super slow, guys. I apologize. Between Hulu and Netflix trying to steal bandwidth from me. All right. So I'll show you what that would look like in student view. And to get to student view, you can either click on the home button or you can click on settings. So when you click home, that little menu you saw on the right side will pop up and you can click student view. Or when you click settings, the menu will pop up and you can click student view. So we talked about this last time. You will know that you're in student view when you see this this pinkish purple bar around the screen, and it'll say you are currently logged into student view. So one of the awesome things about student view is that you can go and preview what your students will see. Like, it will show you exactly what it would look like to your kids. And you could even, if you made a quiz, let's say, you could take the quiz as a sample student, so you could see what that would look like for your kids. So here you can see my Unit 1 module that I created, right? So this is what the kids would see when they log in, right? They would see Unit 1, and you would tell them, go to the Unit 1 module. So they would go to Unit 1, and then here's the bell work section, right? And then notice I can't click on it. I'm clicking and nothing's happening because it's a header. It just organizes the information. And then there's a bell work that I created, and there's a bell work that I created, right? And then they have some assignments, and these were the assignments that I made. And then they had a quiz. There's one quiz so far, and there was that quiz, right? So I have it all organized under my unit folder, right? My module that I consider to be like a folder, and I have all of these different things organized for the students to find them. All right, let me go ahead and leave student view. All right, Laura, Christina, you guys want to pull a couple questions or anything else that we want to add?
Lots of questions that are just, shoot, I can't even keep up with them.
Yeah, we have like 307 questions and counting right now, so we're
Okay.
doing the best we can.
All right,
Okay,
yeah, look,
so
I'm going to jump in here too.
Everybody could just stop writing questions. And let's see if we can, because I'm going through it and I'm seeing the same question pop up over and over and over again.
Okay.
So first off, your sandbox, you only need one.
Yes.
Yes, I know that many of you have said that you have several preps, you have several classes. The sandbox is only for you to practice in. That's what it's for. Think of it like when you were a little kid and you went to play in the sandbox. Sandbox, you can build things and you can destroy them. It's all about getting your creativity flowing. What I said about building them in your actual courses, I suggested you don't do that because if your master schedule changes, which it very likely can, it may not, but it might. If they cancel that class, like they delete that class and it doesn't exist anymore, everything that you created in that class is gone. So that's why I suggested that you build it and then move it into your commons. And we covered that at our last session, but we can cover it again at the end so that you can see how you move it over there. So it's for safe keepings, okay? Second question, there's a lot of difference between elementary, several different preps. It's going to be up to what your administration or what your department says as far as how elementary works. When I taught elementary in Canvas, what we did is we loaded everything up into one course and we worked out of one course. Even though the kids had access to everything, we kept those unpublished and we worked out of one course. But that's up to your department, your administrator. I understand you don't want kindergartners to be going to 10 or 6 different course cards for their classes when they could just go to one and you can make it flowing. And that we can work with you once you get direction from your admin or your department. Another question about sandboxes. Yeah, you can ask your supervisor or your principal for as much as you want about getting a second sandbox, and I will tell you, they may say yes to you, but their plate is overflowing right now, and giving you a second sandbox is probably at the very bottom of everything else they've got to get done these 2 days. They've been sent out a few directives as of today, and they're probably losing hair or going very gray right now. So just work out of the one, push it over into Commons, and then build something new. Next one, I saw a lot of questions about, was your homepage. And Michelle, you correct me if I'm wrong. District would like you to use the beautiful templates that they've created for conformity. However, you can create your own. Just know, I personally, what I'm telling my people is just look at the one that's on what is on the district and make sure that you have those same things on your homepage or your landing page, whichever language you use, to make sure that you cover it. But am I correct, Michelle, on that one?
Yeah, pretty much. So it's a template, And, Rob, you can let me know if, there's anything else I need to add, but it's a template, just like, any of the things that they give you, they are templates. You can use them. I personally did use the district's homepage layout for my homepage. It was a lot easier to have one to already work from, but it is a template that you can use. You by no means have to use it, but you can use it. If you saw another homepage template somewhere else that you liked, you could use it, but this one is, a kind of like a stepping stone, if you will, to help you in case you're like, oh my gosh, homepage, I don't even know where to start, right? So it's a good template. I used it personally to make mine. You can personalize it, add your own pictures to the buttons and stuff. When you see the district template, you can, but it's definitely a template. You by no means are required to use it, but it does help, especially if, you're not even sure where to start. It's excellent for that if you're not sure where to start. And we will talk about home pages, not today, because a lot of people did ask the last time, but we wanted to try to, help you at least start with building in your sandbox before we talked about home pages, so that you were able to build. I did see some questions on here that I can answer right now about the green buttons, and about moving modules around.
That's where I'm at.
So I can show you that right now. So the green buttons means that it is published. So when you see a green check mark, that means that that module, the students can see it. If I uncheck it, it means that the students can no longer see it, right? So I can uncheck individual assignments. I can uncheck headers. I can uncheck the whole module. And then now the kids can't even see that module anymore. This is good for if you're planning, and let's say that, once your courses are in and everything is finalized, there's kids loaded and all of that stuff, and you are planning ahead, and let's say that you plan, all the way through the end of the semester, let's say, right? You can put all of your modules in there if you want to, but don't publish them. And you kind of publish them as you go, so you give them to the kids piece by piece. So you by no means have to show everything to the kids all at once. Like if I built module 1, and let's say that I only want my kids to see 824's bell work, but I don't want them to see 825's bell work yet, because today is Monday and I only want them to have access to Monday. I can show them Monday's bell work, and I can show them only Monday's assignment, and I can take out the rest of the assignments for the rest of the week. And then they can't see those, just the ones I want them to see. And then as we go along, I can kind of add more stuff and publish more things and kind of give it to them piece by piece instead of loading everything up at once. I mean, again, if you want to load everything at once, you can, but you definitely do not have to. As far as moving the modules around, on the left side of the module, you'll see 6 dots, right? So on that left side, you'll see those 6, is it 6? I can't even see that, 8? I think it's 8. You'll see the 8 tiny little dots, the 2 rows of dots. You can click here and drag it, and you can reorder your modules however you want. All right, so you can kind of drag them to put them where you'd like. If you want to move a module to be first, move a module to be last, you can kind of drag them and put them in whatever location you would like them to be in. So that's one really nice thing about, reordering stuff in here. I saw somebody ask something about moving the modules from navigation. So moving modules around would be done here in this section. Like these things are modules, like these are the folders. And when you click to open them, everything you put in there is here. So this thing here that says Unit 1, this thing that says Welcome Back, these are the actual modules. Navigation.
I think they might have been talking about moving modules up underneath home like you have.
Okay, so if you want to move modules up so that it's higher, then that would be from navigation. So you would go to settings, and then from settings, you would click navigation, like Christina had said earlier. And then from navigation, you would find where you had modules, and you would just drag it to where you wanted it to go. So I like mine right under home, so then I left it under home. If you don't want something, you can drag it below and put it in the bottom section. so that it is hidden from the students altogether. And that is in settings, in your sandbox, or even in your course when you have them, and navigation. And then don't forget to go all the way down and hit save, because if you don't hit save, you did all that work for nothing and you'll have to do it again. And then that's it. So then what the kids see is only the stuff that's at the top. So settings, navigation, you drag your stuff around where you want it, and then save it. And then to get back to modules, you just hit modules. All right, so one more piece before we finish. One more thing that you can do with modules is that you can actually set, so let's say that you would like to decide when a student can see a module. So let's say you do publish all your modules, right? One more thing that you can do, if you do want to publish all your modules, let's say, is you can set when you want them to open. So let's say you put them all in there, you don't want to remember to have to come back and publish them, right? So you make your module, you click the 3 little dots, right? And then if you edit your module, so one more time, you find the module that you want, you click the 3 little dots, you hit edit, you can lock your module until you pick your date. So if you know that you're going to be in this in this unit on this time, you lock it until that time. And you can always change that if you want. It doesn't have to stay that way. You can add prerequisites. So the students have to finish this module before this module opens. You know, that's up to you if you want to do it that way. But let's say that you don't want, you know, let's say you don't want them to see or be able to open anything, even though they're all published, you could lock it until you're ready for them to see it. So that's another really awesome step that you could take in case you want to publish them all at once, but you don't want the kids to be able to go into it. All right, let me see what questions I can grab.
So I have a question here from Kathy Wasserman. Hi, Kathy. So she says she doesn't have any classes. Can she use this for faculty trainings? Absolutely. What we have been thinking about, at least where I am at, is we are developing all of our PDs to be put into a Canvas class. So when we are doing a whole group, then you have it in there. I actually use it for PLCs. So all of my PLCs are in a Canvas course. So I have a module that is just for our agendas. Then I will have another module that may be what our breakout rooms are, or the different things that we're dealing with, like all our data that we're collecting could be under another module that says data. Then, I mean, obviously we wouldn't be making quizzes unless I was trying to be really tricky, like, what do you want for Christmas? But we could be, yeah, I see you laughing there, Laura, because you know I'm all about Christmas. But then assignments could be where you're giving each of your staff members a specific thing to do, like look at your data and show me where the trends are. So that way then that's making them accountable, as well as you can send them away like, okay, for our next PLC meeting, look at your data, find out where the trends are. They do that, upload it, and then it's all there, done already for the next PLC. You can use a Canvas course for anything. You can use it for digital citizenship. My daughter was e-learning, and her media specialist had a Canvas course just for digital citizenship that all the students had to take. We can upload the student handbook in there and have them take quizzes on the student handbook. You can, if you are doing science fair or social studies fair, you can make that a course where everything is put in there to make it easier for the kids to help them build along the way, especially for middle school kids or even elementary who are doing science fair. You can break that science fair apart and make it like a school-wide science fair Canvas course, and you break it apart and there it is for everybody to work on it. So basically Canvas is for anything that you can anything you can imagine. It's like Willy Wonka. It's whatever you can imagine it can be.
Pretty much. It's pretty awesome that way. I'm trying to see. Okay, so I have a question about, can you add a lesson after you add a header? You sure can. So me personally, like the way my brain works, headers are organizational for me. So like in my head, a header tells me what goes in this spot, and I know that every time I make something that's related to that header, I'm going to put it underneath that header. But that's how my mind works. You know, like I was saying earlier, an elementary teacher may have, you know, science, and then they may put, you know, week 1 and the dates, week 2 and the dates. So all of the week 1 assignments will go here. All the week 2 assignments will go here. I mean, it just depends on, you know, how you normally would organize. But you could most definitely put a lesson after a header, and you don't have to have headers at all if you don't want to. You know, that just, it depends on the person and, you know, how you organize. Me personally, I love headers because I like folders. So headers are helpful for me with my organization, but, you know, not everybody likes folders the way I do. And some people just put all of their stuff in order as they create it. And you could very well do that also. So, you know, it's all up to kind of your taste level in terms of how you organize things.
And one comment, if you could please, when you say, could you repeat that, and you put that in the question box, usually by the time we come to it, we have no idea what you're talking about. So if you give us a little bit of context, because like there's 420 questions right now that are open in the question box. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, so this question, I'm just trying to see, I just popped up in front. It says, we are BO by bring your own device district. So should each school have a separate Wi-Fi password for teachers that decide to bring their own devices? That's nothing that we deal with.
Yeah, I don't know. I would ask your school and see what they say. I have no idea.
I understand it is that everybody, when you log onto the district Wi-Fi, you log in using your credentials. Students have their credentials. We have our credentials. We have a broader access to things than students do, but then we are all blocked using theirs. Like nobody can use Snapchat, or they can't use Pokemon Go, which is pretty bad when you're trying to play the game. But that's, in case you were wondering. Another question was, what will this look like for pre-K? You know, guys, that's a good question, because you could make it, I don't know. I'm just thinking.
So I can show you. I actually was doing a deep dive on some other courses, and so there are some kind of sample courses out there. Like I've seen some stuff online that other teachers have done, and I was kind of taking a look at some things that other teachers have done. I have seen where like pre-K and K teachers have done where they've done like they'll do a page, which we're going to talk about next. So they'll have a page, and then they'll, you know, give like an introduction for like, you know, a pre-K or a K class, and then they'll make another page, and it has all the work for the week, and they just put links. So it'll be like Monday, and then there'll be a link, do this assignment, then do this assignment, then do this assignment. You know, they'll give them like their letters of the day or their letters of the week, or, you know, whatever that was that I saw. So you could definitely make it look like, that's the awesome thing about Canvas, is it's literally exactly that. It's a canvas. You can make it look like whatever you want it to look like, pretty much. However you want to set it up, you can make it look like that. So I definitely have seen it where, you know, it's, you know, much more simplified. So it's only like 2 things. And when we talk about pages, you know, the ladies will show you like what you could do with a page. And, you know, that could be something good for an elementary teacher, where you could put the stuff that you need for that week all on one page. So it's not too many things that an elementary student would have to look at, especially in the lower levels. All right. So I see. All right, so I saw this question again. I'm going to answer it live because I had answered it. I typed the answer, but I'm going to answer it again, but live this time in case anybody else has the same question. So some people were asking about the publish button. They were saying that they didn't see, they only saw a publish button with a black check mark. So the publish button that you are seeing is the course publish button, like to publish the entire course, not to publish individual modules. So I'm trying to get to, my computer is really slow, guys. I apologize. Let's see.
So Canvas is really, really nice. I know it seems like it's redundant in a way, but it's really, really nice. There are 3 levels of publishing. So you could build out an entire course, and they do this at the college level. You build out an entire course, but you don't want the students to see it yet. You don't publish the course. So that's the first level. The course has to be published. The second level is at the module level. So let's say I've got a lot of things in my stream and my kids are done with something. I don't want them to see it anymore. Or I've built a whole module and I don't want them to see it yet. I don't publish it. Once I publish it, it'll publish that whole module. It'll unpublish the whole module. Let's say I'm working in a module, and my module, like I had a module last quarter that ran almost the full quarter. Well, I didn't build all of that at one time. I built about a week at a time, right? So I published the module so they could see it, and I published each of the pages and assignments under that. And then the additional pages and assignments that I was creating, I didn't publish until I was ready for them to see them. And so that's your 3 levels. It's at the page or assignment, quiz, whatever that individual box is, the module level, and the course level. And in order for students to see it, it must be published at all 3.
Correct. So you can't see it in this sandbox because this one is published because I have student work in this one. Like I had a friend go in here, I added them as a student and I had them do assignments in this sandbox, so I can't unpublish it to show it to you. But on your sandbox, you would see a grayed out check mark that says unpublished and like a black one that says published. That one is to publish the entire course so that people could actually see it. And then, like Laura was saying, if you go into modules itself, you can publish the actual module, which is the green check marks. So the black check mark is to publish the entire course, right? And then you can also publish individual modules. So like right now, this module, I unchecked it, so this module itself is not published. So if a student were to try to look at this, they would not see any of this because I unpublished the module. The assignments are published, but they just can't see the module. Well, some of the assignments are published. They just can't see the module, right? So that's what the black check mark is. If you want to see these green check marks on your modules, you would go to where it says modules, and that would take you to a section. Yours obviously wouldn't have as many unless you made a bunch of modules. Yours would look different than mine. I have modules in here. You may not, right? So you want to go here, and then if you want to publish something, you hover over the circle with the slash in it, and when you hover over it, it will say publish. When you click it, it will put a green check mark to let you know that it's published.
And you can always look in student view and see what they can and cannot see. We have another question here, and then we kind of need to
we need to
finish this up. What's the difference between a module and a page, and do we link our home page to the module or to other pages?
Both. You can do both, and we're going to talk about pages here next, but you can do both. You can link your home page to a module if that's what you want that button to go to, or you can link it to a specific page if that's what you want that button to go to. So, for example, on one of my sandboxes, I have an entire homepage that's complete, and I have a button that says syllabus. My syllabus is on a page. So when they click the button, it takes them to my syllabus page that has my syllabus on it, right? So you could do either, whichever one you'd like, you could do either. All right, so so that's what I was talking about with adding another header. Sometimes it grays out. So when you go to add and you try to add a text header, click something else and then click back to text header. And that should reset it. I don't know why it does that. It didn't always do it. It's something it just started doing. I don't know why. But so when you hit the plus sign, because it does it for me as well. So if you hit the plus sign and you want to add a text header, if this is grayed out and it won't let you click it, you basically click anything else and then go back to text header, and then it will pop up and be blue again. And then you just put the name in and you can add it. So like for some reason it kind of gets stuck. So you gotta click something else really quick and then go back to text header, and it will show up and be clickable again so that it's blue. All right, so I will keep answering in the chat. Christina, if you wanna go on and talk about pages, I'll stop sharing and I'll keep answering stuff in the chat.
Okay, so we're gonna go over pages. Let me see, I'm doing mine. All right, so somebody said they wanted to see what my homepage look like. So this is my homepage that I'm currently working on. My homepage looks more elementary, even though I teach middle school, because in my mind, I'm thinking, how can I make it as easy as possible for my students to follow things so they know exactly what they have to do? So being that middle schools can be like elementary, that's what my thought process was. So I created this slide as my picture. This is a Bitmoji. We are not going over it, but we will have that later, and I can walk people through it step by step. So don't bother. So please don't bother them with questions. This is all me, and I will do a separate one, or you can email me and I'll walk you through it. But we're going to do pages. So on your left-hand side of your navigational, you'll find pages somewhere down there. All you need to do is click on it. Okay, and then you'll need to click all pages if you have a bunch of pages already there. Don't be scared, I have a lot of pages. So the first thing you're going to do is go over to the right-hand side where there is a blue page with a plus sign on it. You're going to want to click on the page plus. That's going to give you a page. In that page, you just type whatever you want the heading of your page to be. So I always I just always start with welcome. And then that's your title. Your title is whatever the kids are going to see when they go through the modules, and we'll get to that part, how you place them in there. The next thing you want to do is that you get to your text box, and this is where you're going to put the meat of the page. So as Michelle said, it's kind of like, I like to think of my modules and my pages like a textbook. The top page that you see is the cover. So that your home page is your cover. And then each module is a chapter with pages in between. So you want to make sure that everything that you need, that you want is on your page. The good thing about it is you can cut and paste a picture in here. You can add links to it. I guess earlier today I was having a teacher go, well, can I add Quizlets to it? Can I add external links? You can do pretty much anything by adding the link right here. For me personally, I like creating everything symmetric, so I make a grid. And that allows me to keep everything very symmetric when I'm adding things. So I am going to make this their first assignments of the day. So I might be like, if you are, just be like options to choose from. You know, I don't know, I'm just coming up with things. Let me just go to one of my pages. It's a lot easier to see what's already there. So when you're creating pages, it's so much easier to show you when I have a brain. So here is the page I've already created. You can see the lesson is on Newton's second law. This title follows along with the lessons that are in the textbook. So it allows the kids to see, if they had a textbook, here it is in pages. And I've gone ahead and I've added pictures and all the information I want them to have. If I wanted them to be able to read, once they have it, they can use their immersion reader as a student. So if we have a low-level reader, don't have to worry about them not reading the big words. I've got the computer who will read it for them. If I wanted to change anything, I would hit edit. And I would just text the changes in here. I know you're going to ask me, how did I get the images in here? No problem. And over here on the rich text part, you have an image that says picture. And I click on it. I have three choices. I can upload an image from my computer. I can upload an image from something that I already have, or I can also do that again. So if I went to upload images, again, I have my computer, or as we showed you on Tuesday, you can go to Unsplash, which will give you a bunch of pictures that have been pre-approved that are appropriate for our children. So you can add pictures that way. If you already have pictures in your course that you've used before, here are all my pictures. Okay, there's my picture of my son. I don't know why he's in there. So you can take a picture and add them. I am really big on memes in my kids, so I could throw a picture of that right in there if that was appropriate to have in there. If it's not, I made a mistake. Whoops, there it goes. It's gone. The sandbox can be fixed either way. So that's how you create a page. Very easy. So that's a page. Now, that's one way of creating a page. The other way of creating a page is through your modules. So to do that, you would click on modules in the upper left-hand side of your page. Find your module that you wanted to add the page in. So you can see I have several modules already created here. So I think this one is empty. Let's see. Yep, nope. All right, this one's empty. So if I go over here to the little plus bar in the modules, it's gonna let me add whatever I want directly into that module. I can add a page, a file, a quiz, an assignment, all those things that you saw in Michelle's modules, you can add right here. So I would add a page, and if I wanted to use one of the pages I've already created, all the pages that I've already created are right here. If I want to create a new page, I would just say new page and title it, I'll say, oh, it's already there. Let's practice, and then add item. So now under my module, I have a page. To edit your page or to create it, you would click on the actual title of the page, click edit, and you can type anything you want in here. If you wanted to, I have done for Let's Practice, I have some students, we did a lot of fun things with at the end of the school year last year. So sometimes I would put using this icon, which is where you can upload, record media, is I got a little snazzy with them. I would record a message with them using my Snapchat filters, and then upload it into here and be like, what can you, using, giving them instructions, seeing face to face, because with us going to virtual, this is the missing piece we're going to be having with our kiddos. We need to be able to have that interactivity with them, that personal touch that we're not going to get by being in the classroom. Here's how you can do that. You can add videos of yourself talking to them, like how we're talking to you right now. You can upload a video and be like, hey guys, today is, just like you would if you were walking into the classroom. That could be your landing board every day, like Monday. Elementary kids, I'm an elementary teacher at heart. This is where I would be going, good morning guys, today we're going to do this. And you could like verbally tell them what the plan of the day is, and then underneath it, have it in writing for those kids who are not auditory learners, but maybe are more written, like read for learning. And then again, we have kids who are auditory learners that need to hear you speak it. So these are ways that you can add it, make it different, and make it more personal for your little ones. And your big ones too. They like to add those things in there, and they can be very creative. They can even make their little TikTok video and add it up there. We had a teacher who made that their bell work every day, is they had to upload a TikTok video that they created. So they were all into that, whatever that move was that they were doing, but they had to upload those. So it's creativity of using your pages. You can also add a document to your page. So perhaps maybe you have a worksheet that you want them to do. You can just upload documents. If you have it right there on your file, you can do it right from your computer. If you have it in the course documents, those will be the documents you've already added. So like I have a new ZLA, and right there is the PDF. So when I save it and publish it to the kids, they will be able to click on the new ZLA and they'll pull it up into a separate window, not their Canvas window, and they'll be able to read it and fill it out. So that's one way of doing it. What I always do when I'm creating a page, instead of hitting save, I hit save and publish. And that for me is because I have a tendency to forget to make sure things are published. And then I get frustrated, the kids get frustrated when I say, all right, open up Canvas and go to module 5, let's practice 2. And they are all starting to raise their hand, like you guys raise your hand going, I can't find it, I can't find it. And they get frustrated and then they want to shut down. So I have a Canvas checker, and their sole job is when they come in the morning is to open Canvas, and they look at my board. They would look at my board to see what we're doing for the day, and their job was to check Canvas to make sure that it was published. And they would let me know before class even started that, hey, Let's Practice 2 is not available. I can't find it. And that gives me an opportunity to go make sure that I published it. That happens a lot, I'll be honest. But that's how you make your pages. It's again, for me, my pages are all about having a book. So it goes pages by pages. So for here, I'm just going to show you real quick, is that I made for my kids how to go when they first start Canvas, how to orientate themselves with Canvas. So they start. So what I did was I had the title, what you need to know, and I put a video in there. And this video comes directly from Canvas. When they hit the next button, maybe, then there's my personal what is on Canvas, and I identify. And then the next couple pages, I identify the different parts that I want them to know about. So these are things that you can do, but as you see, I've added text and pictures. And sometimes, and I also put there to tell them nicely, because I work better when they give me Diet Coke and candy. But it goes through it and it shows them. In some, didn't go. And then for some part of my pages, I may actually have a video for them. So you can have a page is basically what you want it to be. That's so. Are there any questions? That's an understatement, isn't it? Clicking the 8 buttons won't move it. Okay, so I'm looking on, I don't know if I'm frozen or if you guys are all frozen. Can you show release the assignment the student is using with the function date? When we get to assignments, we will do that. Module comes and I changed my mind, I deleted it, but it looks like an octopus. It's everywhere. Yeah, you can just delete it. So how do you delete modules and pages? That I can show you real quick. So if you don't like a module that you're here, if you, first of all, unpublish it, I just make sure I do that. Go over to the 3 buttons that are on the far right-hand side of the module and scroll down to where it says delete. It'll ask you, are you sure you want to delete this? It's gone. So if you find that you have a module or a page you don't want,
But make sure, because there is no undo in Canvas. There is no undelete. If you delete it,
that's it.
you have a chance if you immediately do Control-Z to get it back. There's a chance it might come back and it might not.
Control-Z.
If you've done anything else before you've done Control-Z, it's gone forever.
So I just doing Control-Z and it's gone.
Yeah, so sometimes that works, sometimes not. But there is no undo.
Sad.
Yes. I always say there's 3 places you can get in trouble in Canvas. Deleting is one of them. Yep, deleting is one of them.
Well, see, all of a sudden it got lots of pages. Can I delete a module? We just did that. How to add, Kimberly Hernandez says, can pretty please, so she said pretty please. So I guess we can do that one again. So how do we make a header? I go and I make a module title, add the module name. Then if I scroll down to the bottom, there should be a header there. Ta-da! And so a header is a module, is the title of a module. Basically thinking of that, Kimberly, is you can use
I think she means a text header, Christina, like within a module. Like, so if you click the plus sign and then do add text header, I think that's what she means.
Like right here?
Yeah, like if you click the plus sign and then you go add text header to your header, that might be what she means, yeah.
Okay, so there you go. So I'll do that again. I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you're doing. So if you make a module and you click the plus button, it'll add, what do you want to add to it? You want a text header. And I'm just going to say, I don't know why I have that on there, but principal as a technology leader. Do you want to indent it? No. And then it should just add it. That's interesting.
This is the thing I was talking about where you have to click something else and then click back to the header because sometimes it gets stuck. So like click anything, like click click add file and then go back to text header. I don't know why it's been doing that, but it has, and I don't know why. And then go back to add text header and then it should
there you go.
Pop up as, I don't know why.
There you go.
Yeah. It's
just
very
a
odd.
Hey, Canvas is a baby. It's really, if you knew what Canvas was like 10 years ago when it first came out, this is so much better. So it's still, it's an adolescent, so it still gives you problems. You just got to be really nice to it. So did that answer your question, Kimberly, I hope? Do we see anything else? They wanted to how to make buttons. We'll get that. How to make modules again for our first graders. All right, so again, modules, whoops, don't want that. So your modules, you just come up to the very top and where it says add modules, you just click on it, add your module name. Not Raiders. Okay, if you wanted to add a prerequisite, like they needed to complete something first, you could, so that way they can't jump ahead, because we know first graders, they're very naughty children and they like to go straight to the test. So we're gonna make them do that first. And then hit, I'm not gonna do that. And you just hit modules, and then you can see, I added the module right here. And then from there, you can just add your pages, your assignments, your anything you want under there like you would your regular lesson. So if this was week 1, how I envision it for elementary kids, if I was teaching elementary, my module would be August 24th through the 28th. And then each page underneath it would be today's date and what you want them to do. And I would have all the links under it, what they would need to do. With Edgenuity, that's going to be coming from your homepage, I think. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Everything from that will be, that will look differently after, this is for after we get through Edgenuity. Correct, Michelle? She can't hear me, she froze again. You're still mute, Michelle.
Am I unmuted? Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, I'm having like bandwidth craziness. But so as far as Edgenuity goes, it is already technically on there. Like you can see it where your sandbox is. You just can't do anything with it because they're still creating the logins for Edgenuity, but it's already there. So you, the kids, I don't know if they're gonna have you put a button on your homepage, but I know that the kids will be able to click it from the navigation menu. So like if you remember in my sandbox, I had McGraw-Hill still in my navigation menu and Office 365 because McGraw-Hill is my textbook. Kids could just click it and it would do a single sign-on into their McGraw-Hill textbook and take them straight to the textbook from Canvas. So I would assume that Edgenuity will probably be the same way where the kids can click the link on the left that has the Edgenuity direct link and it would take them directly to Edgenuity. It would be my assumption.
Okay, so I saw another one saying, do school paras supposed to have a Canvas page as well? Don't really know on that one. I would think that you would be you would be through your Canvas champion, you would be added to whatever teachers you are linked to be a part of their course. But
Yeah, I
you
was gonna say, I think you can, if you have lost a number in the system, which you would, they could add you to the class as, you know, probably as a TA or another teacher. I know that in the spring on EDSB, we were able to add some of our ELL aides to our classes who would come to our class all the time to help the kids with their work so they could see the work we were assigning. So I would assume that on Canvas, we could probably still do the same thing where you can add another teacher or a para or an aide to the class in some role so that they could still have access to that material.
Right. So if you're a co-teacher and you're the co, I would definitely make sure that go up to the teacher that you're co-teaching with and be like, hey, put me on your course so that I'm there to support you. We're working together. If you're a para, I'd be like, hey, to the teacher you're with, put me on there so that I can support you and your kids throughout the day. And it also then allows them to see what you are doing instead of like being out in no man's land. They're actually in your page with you and they can see what you're doing. And so when a student has a question, they can ask the question directly to the para or you or, you know, a co-teacher, and it's a team effort. It's all about teams.
Okay, so we got a question from Glenda. So you've been asking, I know you had a couple of questions in there about just linking from your home page to the day of the week because you've got little guys and you're at a Title I, you're worried about your parents as well. The only problem with that is what do you do when you get to week 2?
Then I have a second module.
Right? But if you're linking from your home page.
So for me, this is how it works. And this is important for you guys to understand. For me, my homepage is going to change over the weekend. So this date will change. All of these links will change. So for them, so this is like, so if I go to my to-do list, it tells them where they have to go. They then click here. So there's your bell work. All I'm going to be doing is changing these slides. All these are our slides. So for those of you who are asking about how I'm doing this, you can make, if you wanted to, you could just make your homepage daily or weekly to-do list, and you can have it linked directly to your modules, and then they'll go directly to the module of week 1, week 2, week 3. I'm doing what's called Bitmoji Classroom. It's actually Google Classroom that I'm using, and then I import Google Classroom directly into Canvas. So like I said, it's a different way of doing it, but for me, it's very sequential for my students. And this would be for my ESE class or my low levels, or I would think that it would work when I did elementary. This is how elementary looked. It's just a lot of work for me. There's probably different ways of doing it, but I like to make sure it's personal. And this is also just like on the weekends, I do my lesson planning. There's my lesson planning for my week.
And I want to point out that if you were doing it with a home page and let's say you got to week 2, you can always unlink your button and relink it to whatever you want. So let's say that you decided that you wanted your lessons button to now link to week 2. Then you would go back to your homepage, you would click that button, and then you would remove the link, and then you would put the link again, but you would make it go to your module for week 2. So you could do that if you wanted to. It would definitely be an extra step on your part, but if you wanted to do it that way, you definitely could.
Right. So, I mean, go ahead.
And remember, because I just don't want anybody getting in trouble with this, okay? Christina has a beautiful homepage, and she has decided that that's what she's going to do for her homepage. That is not with the district. That does not follow the district template. Now, CTA language has some stuff about you don't have to follow the template, but just realize that if you don't follow the template, you might get questioned about it, okay? So just be prepared for that. The other question that came up, Christine, if you could show real quickly how you took the page that you created in Pages and move it into a module.
Yes. So when I go to that, I go to View All Pages, find the page I want, click on the right side, the three buttons on the right-hand side of the page, and I send copy to, nope, that's not right. How did I do this? Oh gosh, I've gone brain fart, brain.
Wait, what were you trying to find, Christina? I was answering your
So
question.
okay, so she said, how do I go from my pages to add to my modules? And I put,
so if you go to modules, you can do it
there you
directly from
go.
modules. Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay, sorry guys. I have a little bit of foggy brain sometimes. So if I go to modules, they go
And
to
then you hit
add.
add. Yep.
And there's where all my pages are. I could just
Pick the one you want.
add and move it that way. Sorry guys, had a little bit of a brain mishap. And then there it is in the module. And then if I had another page, and if this one I wanted to go first, I would just pick those little waffle buttons and move it. Does that answer it?
Yep, and you can also move it between modules that way as well. So if you had something that you created and you decided you wanted it in a different module, you can just grab those little bars and move it up.
And I know another question is what are these little icons that are on the side of it? They indicate for you what type of page it is. So the icon that looks like a page, it's a page.
Yeah, so it's like different types of assignments. So you could have like a page, it could be a quiz, it could be an assignment of some kind, like an assignment you made, a discussion. They just tell you kind of what type of thing it is that you're looking at.
Right. So it makes it really easy for you. And once you understand what the different icons are, and the kids, they can look at it and be like, oh, cool. This is a discussion board. That's an assignment. That's a quiz. So it makes it easier for them to figure out things as well. Okay. Any other questions? Why would I want to make a module for a primary? Okay, so Glenda Gabe, why would you want to make a module for primary? So it's up to you. I think of, like, again, we say that I think of modules like a chapter in a book. So, or a day or a week, and it's just your way of organizing it so it flows. So when an adult looks at your Canvas and they're trying to figure out what they have to do, and you have your module as in what's all about Canvas, and the first page is Monday, and then you have all the things under Monday, and then the next one is Tuesday, all the thing under Tuesdays. That's one way of organizing it. Or you could have your module say Monday, and then you could have reading, writing, math, and done that way, so that it makes it, because when you're dealing with primary, you're dealing with the moms and the dads as coaches. I like to think of parents as coaches when we do e-learning. So this is a great way to think of them as their educational coach, because they're not parents now they're helping. So they're the coach and you're helping them. And if you can make your Canvas to be sequential for them, so they understand it, so that they're not getting frustrated while they're helping their student and coaching them, and you're coaching them, it makes the partnership much, much happier. Go ahead.
I was going to say another thing is when you go to add assignments, if you don't have modules, you can't put them here in the module section. So basically the parents would never be able to, let's say that, a kid started working on, like the sight word video or whatever for this week. And let's say that the parent wants to go back and just do sight word video again as practice because, they want their kids to watch it a second time, even though they already did the assignment, right? If you have a module that you loaded that assignment into that the kids did, or you loaded that page with the video on it, the parent can just go back into the modules and just click on that page that had the video with the sight word for this week, and have their kid watch that video, or whatever it was that you posted. So it helps you organize stuff as well for you, but it also helps you organize stuff, like Christina said, for the parents to be able to find things, because in this section all you can put is modules and then put things into the modules. If you created an assignment or a page, like the parents, like if you let them see the pages page, all they see is a list of pages. right? Like if you let them see the pages section, they see a list of pages, and it's just every page that you've created on there with no organization. So they don't know what to look at, and all they see is pages. They don't see assignments because they would have to click the assignment section, if that makes sense. So putting everything in a module gives them one place to look so that they know, okay, this is what we did, you know, in this section, so that they know how to find it. So it's more of a making it easier navigation task, you know, for, like Christina said, for the parent of that child.
So, and just remember that module is really just your organization. It's just like when you sit down to lesson plan or you organize your files on your computer. Everybody does it a little bit different based on what works for them. And so it's, I know we're getting a lot of questions about setting up the modules, but it's really kind of get in your head how you plan and organize your curriculum for your students. And that's how you set up your modules and your headers and so forth. And I know that's kind of vague, but it really is a person by person kind of thing.
And that's why that unit 6, that module 6 in the self-paced is so meaty, because when it gets to the section about modules, it literally is like, however you want to organize your modules, which is frustrating. But, you know, that much is obvious from this, that the way that a high school teacher versus a middle school teacher versus an elementary school teacher may organize their modules may look completely different, you know, in every circumstance, and even teacher to teacher within the same settings. So really how you organize your modules is completely a taste thing, up to you and, you know, how you organize stuff. So like, it's hard to say this is how you should organize your modules because everybody does it differently. So like, that's the hard thing about modules, is there's no hard and fast, this is how you must do it, because everyone does it differently.
And this is really the one place in Canvas where there are differences between elementary, middle, and high school. Is how you set up your organization to help your students and your parents. All the rest of it is pretty much the same. All right, are we ready to move on to assignments, or we have some more questions?
Well, there are a lot of questions about assignments, that they're ready for you.
Yep.
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
do assignments. Yeah, because all the things that we talked about pretty much lead right to assignments.
All right, excellent. So just to answer a couple of questions first, and I'm gonna, just so that I can kind of see what I'm doing, I'm going to hide the question box. So I'm not seeing the questions right now, so I'm relying on you guys to help me out. So this is the way that I organized my modules, just to show you real quickly, in the class that I did last semester. So here I had Big Idea 5, Earth and Space and Time. And then I had lesson 1, and I had all the pieces of lesson 1. My daily flow is my objective, my standards, all of that kind of stuff. This one was my content. And then the next one down is, in this case, it was a little quick quiz. It was like an exit ticket. And then the same thing, lesson 2, here's my objective and so forth. Here's my content. Here's my activities. Lesson 3. So I kept that same front formatting. That worked for me in a middle school science class. Okay, that may or may not work for you. So that's just how I organized mine, so that the kids could really pretty easily find where they needed stuff. Again, modules is about organization. Because by the end of it, and to think about how much content you have in an entire semester, you're going to have quite a lot of stuff in Canvas. Okay, so again, in my sandbox, I have a ton of modules. If I'm just going to work in this one called geometry because it's up here at the top. The module itself is not published at this point, so if I went into student view, I wouldn't see it. My students would not see it. This particular one, I chose that they had to complete all items, so that was on that box with the prerequisites and requirements that Michelle showed you. Once I have my module set up, so that's like my container. And Christina just showed you how to create a page. Pages are really just content. I'm going to show you how to create an assignment. So you're going to go to, and again, this is a drop down. We are going to do quizzes in a whole nother session, because there are Canvas is so powerful in all the different question types. You can make question banks, all kinds of things that you can do in quizzes, that's a whole session in and of itself. Files, I don't really add this way. I think there's easier ways to add files. Page, we just went over. Discussion, we're going to again cover that at another date. If we have time, we'll grab it tonight. If we don't, then it'll be in the next session. It's pretty straightforward. You're just setting up a discussion board for students. Text header we already talked about, and external tools we'll talk about in another session. So we're going to talk about assignment. And that's what it defaults to normally when you do the ad. Now, if you pick one of these and they're already in your module, you have the tendency to overwrite them. So if you are creating, you're going to want to pick new. Okay, and I'm just going to name this, and I don't indent myself, I just title it. So I'm just going to name this Tez. Okay. And now I have an assignment. You can see that's the assignment symbol. That's one's the page symbol. Then I'm going to click on the title of it. And I'm going to click on edit. This is exactly the same thing that you do in Pages. This is called a rich text editor. This is where you type just like you would in Word, and you have all of your formatting tools. This is where, like Christina showed you, you can add a link, you can add an image, you can add a video or an audio, you can add a file, you can create a table, you can do mathematical symbols. These are external tools, okay? So those are apps that are embedded within Canvas that you can also embed. So let's say that I'm making this an assignment, but I want to give them some directions. So, you know, read the following article and answer the questions, okay? And then I want to upload a document. Now I can upload a document. If I pick this one, it's going to take me to my desktop to upload. If I do course documents, it's going to be anything that I already have imported into my course. And if I have user documents, it's going to be any document that I have across any course in Canvas. So if I go to upload document, again, I get this little picture. It's going to take me to my computer. And if I go to desktop and fourth quarter e-learning, and say science, and let's say black holes, and I open, and then I submit, it's in there. That's exactly the same thing that you did when you created a page. Now, when I save this, and I'm going to come back to all the stuff on the bottom, so just hold on. Notice that once I save it, I get an underlined version and I get a little box version. If I click or students click on the underlined version, it downloads onto your bottom of your tray, and then you can click there to open it or to save it. If you click on the little paper button next to it, it opens directly there in the window. Okay, and then I can minimize that again if I don't want to see it. So if you, that's my article on black holes. Okay, and I can minimize that again. Now, when I'm in edit and I'm on this, if I click on it, I get link options. I can force it to automatically open in preview mode. So when students open this assignment, it automatically opens rather than giving them the choice of download or open it. They can still download it, but it's going to automatically open on a page. Okay. The other thing that's, no, it's not letting me click off of there. Thank you. The other thing that's really good is that, let's say that I want to embed a YouTube video. YouTube is blocked at school, and they're going to be accessing this at school. And you don't want them to go someplace outside of Canvas. The more that you can keep them in Canvas, the better off you are. So I just go out to YouTube and I find my video that I want. And so let's just say that I want to search for one on black holes. And let's say I've previewed this one. Obviously, you would always preview your videos first. Let's say I've previewed this one and I like it. That's what I want to put.
There is a huge fundraising deadline.
There's an ad. I don't really like that. I'm going to go right underneath and see where it says share. I can click on share. And this very first little symbol says embed. If I click on embed and I click copy. What happens is every time that you are doing anything at all, I'm on the wrong tab now, and it's not going to let me go to my other tab. Hang on. Anytime that you are do anything on the internet, all of these letters, this link to this PDF, videos, everything that you see on the internet, all has code running in the background. So what I just did is I went to that video and I copied the code for that video. So now I'm going to come and I'm going to find this same little button down here right underneath my edit box. And I'm going to click on it. And that is my code that's running in the background of what I have. So now if I go down here and I click Control V, paste, right? And then I go back to, this is called an HTML editor. If I go back to my rich text editor, there's my video embedded right there. And when I save this, it will play right here, right in this window.
Black holes.
Hey, Laura, can you show that again? How you put it in the HTML editor and switched
Absolutely.
over?
And now let's say that I really wanted it up here. Let me get this to load. I really wanted it in between these two pieces. When I go and look at that code, it's hard for me to tell where that is. So you just click right here and you just add yourself a little line of stars. And I go over, I'm gonna cancel this for a second. So I found my video that I liked. I go to share underneath. I pick the very first one, which is that greater than less than sign for embed. I click copy. It will copy the code for me. I go back over to my module in Canvas. And I scroll down and I find that same HTML code place. And I click on that. And now, notice, it's real easy to find my stars. So I go right at the end of where the end of the notation is after the stars. And I go Control Paste, Control V. And then I go back to my rich text editor. And there it is. And then if I don't want the stars there, all I have to do is backspace, take them out. They were just a flag for me to know where to paste it. Okay, are we good on that? I'm not hearing anything, so I'm gonna go on.
I am answering questions as we go, so I haven't come across any questions about what you're asking, but I'm trying to keep up. You know how it is.
Yep.
Ditto. Ditto.
So we've answered, so there's 765 questions and we've answered 221 in the chats. So 768. So,
Well,
okay.
Yep. 768, I think, is the unanswered, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then the 200 and something, so almost 1,000 questions. And a lot of those questions we've answered orally, so that's why they're not showing as checked off. We're not ignoring you. But if you really do have a burning question at the end and it hasn't been answered, put it back in the chat at the end. Okay, so now all this top part you can do in either pages or in assignments. They're exactly the same. You do the exact same procedure for both of them. Where assignments and pages are different is number one, in order to create a spot in your grade book, it has to be an assignment. Now you can go over to the assignments tab and just create assignment after assignment after assignment and import all your grades right into your grade book and be done with it like you were in EDSB and forget that a digital world exists. I think that you will lose a lot. I think that you will miss out on a lot, and I don't think that that's best practices. But that's a possibility to do. I prefer, and I think you saw that Michelle and Christina also prefer to create our assignments right in our module. I'm already there. I already have my framework. I already know what I want to come next. So number one, an assignment puts a column in your gradebook. Number two, underneath that, you have a bunch of choices about how this is going to be graded and how they're going to submit it. The first thing that you can do is decide how many points it's worth. Okay, so I do mine on a 6-point scale. You probably only have assignments as a choice here. I have a number of groups because I've created them. So if you want a new group, you just click on new group. You give it a name. Quizzes. I wouldn't actually add quizzes under assignments, but because there is a whole separate place for quizzes. But I can put it in any assignment group. And you can weight them as well. And I think we'll hold off on waiting for a few minutes and come back to it. You can pick whatever assignment group you want for it. I prefer to weight it in the grade book. That's why I'm saying that. Display it. You can do it as points, percents, complete, incomplete, letter grades, GPAs, or not graded. You can also decide whether or not it counts towards their final grade. Submission type. If you do no submission or on paper, you get a column in your grade book that you can manually fill. If you choose online, you get a series of options. I choose the text entry and the file uploads. If they have a website URL, they can drop it in the text entry and I can still link to it because it's still a URL. So I don't worry about checking that one. If they want to do a recording, a media recording can also be a video file or an audio file that they already have on their computer, so they can upload it as a file. So to just kind of try and keep things streamlined, those are the two that I picked when I did it in e-learning. This will create a place for students to submit the assignment and for you to easily grade it in Easy Grader, in Speed Grader, which again is part of grading and will be kind of another night because it's a whole thing unto itself. But even if they upload it there, and even if you grade it in Speed Grader, you can still go in and manually write in whatever grade you want in the column in your grade book. Okay, so just because you're doing an online entry doesn't mean that you're only allowed to grade it as an online entry. They could not turn it in and you could still go into that column in the grade book and put a grade. Okay, so you still have all that flexibility. The next thing is the number of attempts that you allow. You can limit the number of attempts or you can have it unlimited. I like my kids to be able to resubmit, so I usually leave it as unlimited, but you can set the number of attempts. Okay, I don't want a kid doing it 10 times, maybe I only want them to resubmit it twice. I can make it a group assignment. If I make it a group assignment, after I save this, I'm gonna have groups, right? I set the group name, so I just put a name in here, group 1. And then I can allow them to self-sign up. I can split them into different groups, or I can create it manually. And my box for creating it manually will come up after I save. Okay? What happens with this is that assign grades to each student individually. So now if I check this, what happens is they only submit one assignment for however many people are in the group. And when I grade it, it will give that same grade to each student within the group. Okay, kind of a nice thing. Here's another nice thing. Now, if you just want them to do individual work, just don't check this, and that it's individual work. Another nice thing is require peer review. Again, you can manually assign it or automatically assign it, and you can make them anonymous. And again, once I save this, I'll get a button on the right-hand side for me to make those assignments. And they will have to, before they can submit their final assignment, they will have to do the peer reviews. It requires a peer review. I can assign this to everyone in my course, or I could set up groups. I don't have groups set up. I do have individuals, but I don't have groups set up in my sandbox. But let's say that I only wanted Michelle to do this. So I can take off everyone and I can just assign this to Michelle. She was moving ahead. She was really advanced. I want to give her a little bit more challenging task. So I'm going to assign this just to her. Normally you would mostly assign it to everyone, and that's what the default is. Okay. If I wanted to add additional groups, I could by just clicking on the add button. Okay. Now down here, I get a due date. So that's the date that it's due. So if I make it due on Thursday, it automatically defaults to 12:59, but if I don't like it, I can make it 5 p.m. I don't want anything coming in after 5. You don't have your permission slips turned in before 5 p.m., you're not going. Okay? I can restrict when it is available to them. So I don't have to make it available until the morning of the 13th, or I can make it available immediately. Again, it defaults the time is 12:01 in the morning, midnight to open, and 11:59 to close unless you specify a time. I can also close when it's open too. So this is really great when you get the same box when you do quizzes, is that you can give it an interval. So they can only view this assignment during a certain time. Also, once I set this due date, if they submit it late, it will show up as late, both in my grade book and when I go into SpeedGrader, it's going to say late next to the assignment. I can set up in my grade book, I can set up so that it automatically deducts a penalty for late submission. Or I could do that manually if I wanted. Okay? If you leave this open, then it will continue to be available, but it will get marked late after the 13th. It will also show up on their calendar and on their to-do list because now it's an assignment. So it will show up on their class calendar over here in their global navigation. And it will also show up on the right-hand side when they go into, I think it shows up on the dashboard, but it definitely shows up on the, I'm pretty sure it shows up on the dashboard, but it definitely shows up when you're in the course itself. And then it comes up right on the right-hand side and it shows them this is what's coming up that's due. So it's really hard for them to say they missed a due date. Okay, do we have questions? Sure, there's tons.
Let's see here. Just finishing up that one. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Every time I says, nope, still in the module. How is still that way, still that way. Slow down, can't find the pages plus sign. That's a while back. That was under me. What's the difference between a page and an assignment? I think the page, I think you said that already, is a page is for content. The assignment is for assessments that we want our students to do.
Right. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like a quiz. It could literally be like, read this and respond to this prompt, or, you know, complete it. Like it could be, you know, complete this, watch this video, and, you know, or do a, you know, so it doesn't have to be a quiz per se, because quiz is its own thing. So right. Assignment could be anything that the kids either, it could be a Word document that you gave the kids in like a online Office 365 setting, and they can edit it themselves, type their answers in, and send it back to you. So an assignment pretty much is just like a assignment you would give in class. Like it's the same concept, assignment.
Anything that they can turn in, and it creates a column in your grade book automatically for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now,
Laura, somebody wanted to know how you would delete that video.
You just, you can click on it and delete, or you can go in and you can erase the HTML code. I can go up and do that in a minute. Notice I went to save this and it says not all sections will be assigned this item. Would you like to go back? So it gives you that little warning. Nope, nope, I'm good. I just want to assign it to Michelle. You must have a student in this section. Okay, so I'm just going to delete that section. There we go. Because I did add and then I didn't do it. Okay, so now if I go back, I'm not in edit anymore because I saved it. So if I go back to edit it.
Did you answer the question about the YouTube video? Does it override the school blocks? Did you answer that question?
Yes, because it is running. You are not going to YouTube. You are watching the video in Canvas. They are never leaving Canvas. So it is not blocked. That's one of the beauties. So I'm in edit. If I wanted to delete it, I can click on it and backspace and bye-bye. And now it's gone.
Ooh, so somebody asked a really good question. Once the students have completed the assignment, will it say complete on their screen? So it will say submitted, and if you have it turned on, it will give them confetti if you have the confetti turned on so that they know that it was sent.
Right. And their submit button changes to a resubmit button if you've allowed resubmission. So they'll know because that button changes. And I can go, I won't be able to do it on this assignment because I only assigned it, unless I change it here, because I only assigned it to Michelle initially. So now it's to everybody. So now if I go over to my student view, right, I go over to student view and it is published, but the module is not published. Publish the module. They've changed the progression requirements for this active course. There may be students, yeah, okay, that's okay. And then if I go home and then I go to student view, okay, didn't go to student view. Okay, so now I'm seeing it in student view. It's grayed out right now because I have this particular module set up where you have to do each item. So, but if I go here to this next item, because I did the first one, it's marked as done. And if I go here, there's no content for it. So now if I hit next, it's going to take me to that next one. And if I go to next, that was just a page. And then this one, I should have a submit button. Oh, because I'm still here. Must submit the assignment, but I don't have a submit button. Okay, hang on. Let me go back to modules for a second. Let's go down to one of these that's not, it's not formatted where you have to do one thing after the other. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff in my sandbox. I've been playing a lot. Okay, so let's say I go here to assignment number 1. And I've already submitted this assignment. So if I hit resubmit, this is what the students see. It defaults to that file upload. If they choose file, it's going to take them to their desktop and ask them to choose a file. They can add as many files as they want, and they can add a comment. And then when they're done, they hit submit assignment. If they don't have a file to upload, because I said they could use a text entry box, the text entry is there, and they can simply just click right in the box, type right in the box, and submit it. And when I go into my speed grader on my side, so notice this was submitted. See, it says check submitted. My button says resubmit. It says August 11th at 6:44 p.m. late in red. I can look at my submission details, right? And I can see those. Now, if I leave the student view and I go back to the teacher view and I click on that assignment, which was assignment 1 right here. And if I were to go in a speed grader, and we're not gonna do speed grader tonight, but I'm just gonna show you, see how it says late? And I have a drop down. This shows me all the other times that I've submitted that assignment. So it keeps track of all of them. It keeps track of the grades of all of them. It keeps track of everything. Okay? Let's pause for some questions.
So I am, let's see, we're looking at, trying to keep up with the questions here. It says, my images and video buttons do not give me any other options. They get highlighted blue or nothing at all.
Say that one more time.
So Suzanne Gordon says, my images and video options do not give me any options. They get highlighted blue or nothing, but nothing happens.
Okay, let's go to a module where it's, so I go in, you created a new assignment. Blah, blah, blah. I get less creative later in the evening. Okay, so now I have to go to edit. And when you get that rich text editor, you have the 3 dots on the side. Then you should be able to click on any of these. This one is image, image upload, course images, and user images. The other question is, are you running in Chrome? Because sometimes things don't work quite right if you're not in Chrome. And I don't know if that answered it or not.
Somebody also asked if you can upload, if the kids can upload a picture, which I was trying to type the answer, but my chat box keeps closing. Yes, they can.
and I will tell you, in 4th quarter, I did the text box and the file upload with no restriction. And my kids figured out every possible way under the sun to submit an assignment. And when I went into SpeedGrader, it didn't matter how they submitted it. I got a picture of it in SpeedGrader to see. And I was able to easily grade it right there, give them all the feedback, and they got it right back. It didn't matter if some of them printed it, downloaded it, printed it, wrote on it, took a picture, uploaded a picture. Some of them had PDF software, so they just opened it in PDF and wrote right on it. Some of them had tablets where they could annotate on top of it. They did that and then submitted it. I had students that did scan documents. I had students that converted them to Word and then did it. I had students that submitted PowerPoints. I had students that submitted sways. I had students that submitted movies, videos, audios, anything at all. And all of them open right in SpeedGrader for you. It's not an issue at all, which is really, really nice.
All right, so I see some people asking, somebody asked earlier and I was trying to answer, but the more questions came in and I couldn't, about SpeedGrader and whether or not it was a new feature. So SpeedGrader is something that comes, it's like with Canvas, like it's not like a new thing that just happened. Right. Yeah, like when you go to your grade book or when you click on an assignment, if students have submitted work, you can go to the SpeedGrader and grade the assignments, you know, by grading it and then clicking next and grading the next one.
SpeedGrader is only there if it's an assignment or if it's a quiz.
Correct. And pages will not show up in your grade book, because somebody asked that and I wanted to ask it. I wanted to answer it out loud. Pages will not show up in your grade book because pages are not graded assignments. Pages are literally exactly that. It's like a page in a notebook. It's just a page with information on it that you want the students to have. It could be, you know, something you typed up with instructions. It could be something with a video you wanted them to watch, and then the next page might, and then the next thing in your module might be an assignment, you know, but a page is just informational. It's just content. It is not an assignment.
Okay, and right here, did you do the record? So record or upload? You can do it from course media, from user media. Again, that's within the course, within all of Canvas, or you're creating right here. And it's going to give me a choice. I can get a file from my computer that's a video or an audio, or I can record. And it's going to give me a hard time recording right now because I'm already using my webcam for Zoom. And so there's going to be a conflict. But you can do microphone and video, one or the other, or both. And then you just hit start record, see if it works. Hello, this is a recording. I hope that it works. Okay, and then I'm going to save it. You can preview it. I didn't do that, but you could preview it. And then you have a video that's embedded. And I suspect that it didn't. Well, let me save and see what happens. Sometimes you have to save it. I suspect that it didn't actually use the video portion because my Zoom is already using my webcam. So that's the reason. If you don't have your webcam being used by some other application, then you would have gotten video here as well. But you could play it. Hello, this is a recording.
Look at that, it worked.
Yep, no video, but the audio worked. Okay. Oh,
That could be an awesome feature too. So in the assignment, the kids could submit it that way.
Yes.
But if it was the instructions, like Laura was showing, like for an elementary teacher, let's say you wanted to record a video of something and then have the kids record back a video of them doing something, or you wanted to record a video of you doing something and then, like ask them a question and they type something, and in that way you could do that as well. I mean, it could work also in the middle and high school too, but like it could be great also for elementary where the kids could actually see their teacher giving them instructions as well.
Yep. And I will tell you, I had a very, very rich, rigorous fourth quarter with my students. They did passion projects. They created some incredible items for service. We used design thinking process, and we did hands-on labs. And for the students who didn't have materials for the labs, I physically demoed and I just recorded myself doing the lab and then just had it there for them, and they could watch the video if they couldn't actually physically do it themselves, and then go on ahead and do the rest of the parts of the lab. So, I mean, it's really, really handy. So I'll pause there for just a minute, and then we have one more piece, and then we're going to give you a little bit of time to play and try and get some more questions.
Yes, some people are asking for practice time, so we definitely are going to give you practice time. And then I wanted to show example because some people were asking. I saw it up top and I finally found it on the page I was talking about, made by a kindergarten teacher to show like what a kindergarten course could look like. It's like an old course, but I have it in there that I can show afterwards. And then
also, before we get done with assignments, Laura, would you be able to show them how they can link the documents in Office 365?
Yes,
Good.
I can. I will tell you, I was doing some work in it today and it was glitchy working. So again, because so many things are being uploaded into Canvas right now, and all of our external tools and embedded apps are still kind of being added and tweaked by the district, things might not work quite right today. They should work as we go forward, but I can show you that and just understand it may be a little glitchy tonight. One of the other things that I absolutely love is a rubric. So now I've created an assignment, I can add a rubric to it. I can come in here and I can create this rubric by hand. So if I create a criterion, I can edit what each of these columns, what it says. I can set how many total points. I can set how many points are in each of these boxes. I can add additional boxes if I want. Okay, so it automatically takes me, I have to fill it out for it to stay there. I can decide, and what I like to do is use this rubric for assigning a grade. And then what happens is when I'm in SpeedGrader, this rubric automatically shows up. So I have a student's assignment on one side of the page, and I have the rubric on the other side of the page, and literally all I have to do is click in the boxes on the rubric, and it assigns the grade based on the boxes I chose. If I want to do partial points, I just go into the points box and I assign them partial points. Every single line on the rubric has a comments box to it. So I can comment. I mean, the amount of feedback you can leave kids is ridiculous. I can also, let's say I use the same, I'm a writing teacher, and I use this same rubric over and over for every single type of writing sample that I have. Once I've created it once, I can go to find a rubric. There are Hillsborough County School rubrics. These are all the rubrics that they have in there, which aren't too many right now. These are rubrics that are just in my sandbox. And then there are rubrics that are in my other courses. And I could pick any one of them. Ooh, I like this one. No, that one was kind of an up and down. This one kind of was too. Okay, so I could pick one of these. I can preview them all. And I can pick one that I like. And I can say, okay, yep, that's the one I'm going to use. Okay, and there it is. It's imported into my assignment. And I just have as my criteria, really, they fully answered, because these were lab questions. So they fully answered the question. This particular one had 4 parts, so they answered 3 out of 4, 2 out of 4, 1 out of 4, none. Okay, and if they answered 2 of them, but their answers weren't so good, when I grade this, I can adjust the points and I can put a comment. So it's really nice. Questions on that? No questions on that?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was mute. I'm looking. All I need to know about Canvas now is that's just, okay, never mind, that's not it. Can you override a late submission?
Yeah, so it'll still be tagged as late, so it'll always say that it's late, but you can still give them full credit.
Yes. And then how do you turn on or off the confetti option? I don't think we went over that when we did the course settings.
I thought that we did, but maybe not.
Yeah, we went over it in the first session, but we could show it again if you want. Yeah, we did.
Was that individual courses or that was global?
It's individual. When you go to settings and individual, under course details down below somewhere.
Okay, so if I scroll down here and I continue to go down,
Down.
It's like all the way down there.
All the way
And then
down.
more
options,
I think it's more options.
and
Is that where it is?
this does not look like where, I think it's in global
Okay,
navigation.
maybe it is global navigation then.
I think it's global.
It's automatically on. So unless you turn it off, it's automatically on.
Oh, then it must be global navigation then.
I think it's global navigation.
Oh, maybe.
See,
So there's settings for all of your courses in Canvas, that's global. There's settings for each individual course. Okay, so yeah, this is where it is. Disabled celebrations. If I turn this on, then it disables the celebration. Okay, if I leave it off, then the celebrations are on, which means that as soon as they submit something, it rains down confetti on their screen. Okay, other questions?
All right, I saw some questions in here about, I just answered one, but I'm sure other people may have the same question. I can't scroll fast enough, but other people possibly have the same question about how things show up in your grade book. So for like elementary, if you have things that are like math, things that are science, like how could you group them to show up in your grade book so that they're in groups? And I answered and said that you could put things in assignment groups.
Yep.
But I know that we hadn't gotten to that yet.
Actually, we did.
Oh, we did? Oh, never
So,
mind.
yeah, so elementary, instead of having like weighting like the middle and high school does with different categories, you could have here as your assignments groups, you could have math, science, language arts, and so forth, if you put all of your courses into one course. So it's going to be up to kind of your admin and your content supervisors to kind of tell you whether you're going to have to be in separate courses or you can meld it into one. I would hope for elementary that you could meld it into one. I think it'd be a lot easier for kids, but I'm not at the pay grade that makes that decision.
And then, so you can make assignment groups when you make the individual assignment, or you can literally click on the word assignments and within the assignments section, you can add groups that way as well, so that they already show up in your assignment group section when you create an assignment. So you see how Laura's are organized by groups because she created them when she made her assignment. But if you wanted to make them in advance and make a math group and a science group and a la 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 group, you could by clicking the plus sign in the assignments section, and you can add different groups that way as well if you want to do them ahead of time.
And whenever you add something new in Canvas, it presumes that whatever you did first, that's what you were, that you're kind of doing things in sequential order. So it always adds new stuff to the bottom. Okay? If I don't want it at the bottom, I just drag it up. No big deal. I just drag it up. But so if you ever like, I just added it, where did it go? You don't have to look everywhere. It's going to add it to the bottom. If I'm within a module, I'm going to add an assignment to this particular assignment group. It's going to be the bottom of this assignment group. So it's the bottom of wherever you are is where it's going to put it. So you can always find it and then you can move it. Other questions?
Are we talking about weighting today, Laura? Like the percentages or no? Or adding them from here? Because I know that was a question I got a lot from some of my high school and middle school colleagues, adding weighting from here. Like I showed them how to do it from the assignment section so that it would already do it, like how to do the percentages.
Right.
Yeah, it's, I don't know if we were going to talk about that today or not, but.
It looks like we have a little bit of time, so we can. So if we go in here, it's, how did you get to that window again? Because I always do it through grades.
So if you go to the assignment section, like actually assignment section.
Oh, the actual assignment section.
And then next to where you add a group.
The 3 dots, yep.
Yep, then there's the assignment groups weight.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Canvas is so rich and there's so many different ways that you can do things that work for you. It's you, as you're seeing with all of us, even though we've used Canvas a lot and we know how to do things, sometimes we normally use a different path, like I normally weight them in the grading section, not in the assignment section. So then I kind of forget where that button is. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember now, right? So, it's one of those things, just like anything, if you're not using it all the time, you kind of forget. But the other thing that's really, really great about Canvas is that this help section down here, the answers are all there. If you ever really have a question at all, just go open another tab in Google, in Chrome, and just type in, weighting assignments in Canvas. And the Canvas community that addresses that will come up and the answer will be there. I mean, all of the answers are there. They're readily available. So, but it's such a powerful tool. It does so much. It's overwhelming at this point, probably for most people. But once you start using it, it is very intuitive and it is very user-friendly.
Yes, definitely. I know some people wanted some practice time,
Yep.
and we're up to like 902 questions. Like I can't even get my chat box to stay open.
I'm trying. I know.
It won't stay open. It keeps flickering because there's so many questions. But while everybody's having some practice time, Laura, if I could share this screen, I wanted to show the elementary teachers that were asking an example of a kindergarten page.
Yep.
So that they can kind of, because it's hard to wrap your head around it if you can't see it. So I wanted to kind of show an example while people are practicing, and I'm going to give my chat box a chance to recover because it won't let me do anything, and kind of show some of the elementary teachers what an elementary page could look like. So I actually was on Canvas and I went to go like kind of browse at more courses because I wanted to see what might be in there, and there's some old courses in there from HVS, and so this is like an old HVS course from 2016 2017 that was in the browse more courses section in the courses section, and all of the examples of course are mostly elementary, but that's okay. Not helpful for me, but helpful for the elementary teachers here. So this was a way that they had their homepage set up. I assume that HVS probably has a specific way they have to set up their homepages, so I won't even speculate on the homepage. But what I wanted you to see was their modules and how the modules were set up for this kindergarten class at HVS in 2016, 2017. So you can see that their modules are set up by weeks with the dates, and then you'll notice that there's just 2 pages inside of the modules. So this is a page, like this little page icon with the turned down little dog-eared end, that's a page. So what they did was they organized their modules by week, and then each week has 2 pages in it. So the week 1 overview, for example, gives them just an overview of what they're learning this week. And obviously, if this is kindergarten, this is clearly for the parents more than it is for the students, right? But, you know, it has an overview of the information. And then, you know, they could click the next button, and then it would take them to the next page in that module, and that's week 1 at a glance. So what they did, and the first one isn't the best example because there's only one thing. They have, you know, what their one assignment is for this whole week, which is to do the orientation module. So let me show you week 2, because that one's better because it has even more stuff in it. So here's the week 2 overview, right, where they talk about their standards and what the kids are going to learn. And again, this is 2016, 2017, so it's clearly an old course. The stuff has, I'm sure, changed by now. But when I click next, and we look at the week 2 at a glance, this is the awesome thing that I saw that I was like, oh my gosh, that would make it so much easier for elementary teachers. What they did was they put everything in here. And so this is a page, but the way they organized the page was day 1. Here's all the day 1 stuff. Here's the warm up. They embedded the video in here, like how Laura showed, to embed a video, right? And then they have their assignment, and then it's underlined, right? Which means that you can click on it. So if I were to click this, it would open something, either a website or something like that, for them to practice that assignment, singing the alphabet song, right? And then
And it's got that little up arrow, which means it's going to take you outside.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. And then so you have the reading, and you can see they have a little section called reading, and then they have 3 links that link them directly to the reading. They have the writing, and then they hyperlink the words to take them to whatever their assignment is. So they literally have every day, but on one page. So all the parents have to do is click on that one page and just scroll down for the entire week, and the whole week's worth of work is on that page. So if you were concerned about, you know, making it, you know, elementary friendly, and even this text in our first video, if you rewatch the recording, we actually show how to get elementary text on your canvas to make all of your writing look like this more elementary style writing. And we show that in the first video, we showed how you could do this. But basically, when they go to modules, it's not nearly as cluttered as, say, my modules as a high school teacher. You know, they put everything on a page, and all the parents have to do is scroll, and each day is clearly organized with all of their assignments. So for the elementary teachers that were asking, you know, well, what could you do, or what would modules look like at an elementary level? Like, this is a perfect example, and this is a kindergarten class, you know, so this is a perfect example of what that could look like, right? So these are all the weeks for, you know, ELA, for the kinder class, right? So that's how they have that organized. So, I mean, there's, you know, definitely options on there, but I wanted to show, you know, what that could look like at the elementary level, because I know that, I mean, I'm high school and, you know, middle school at one point, and this is, it's a lot to wrap your head around, you know, for a younger grade level. So hopefully that helped, you know, to see what other, you know, another teacher did in a past life in 2016, 2017 with their elementary class.
Okay, one of the questions was, how do we link the next buttons? So when you are in a module and you're making your pages and your assignments, when you're in the module section making them, the next button automatically appears. It's like hitting the next page. So think of it like if you were on an iPad and you were to swipe it, you could just, that's what it is. It's just going to take you to the next page. If there's nothing on the next page, you won't have a next button. If there's nothing on the page before it, there won't be a previous button. So it follows the flow of your module.
Exactly.
Okay, so there were a couple of questions about that 365. So let me go ahead and share my screen again.
And while Laura's sharing her screen, I saw a question in there. Kimberly, what do I need to know about Canvas? So when the kids see it, so that's the thing that's could be overwhelming. When the kids and parents see it, they don't see all this stuff that you see, right? Like you have all of the tools, they see what you want them to see, basically. They only see what you put there that allows them to be able to see it. So, you know, what you would need to know about Canvas is how you could organize it so that what the kids and parents see, you know, is easy for them to navigate. So you are organizing it in such a way that the stuff is easy for the kids and parents to find. And that's where, you know, the module organization comes in. If you treat a module like a folder, you know, putting your different assignments in and kind of organizing it so that the parents and or kids can find what they need, you know, that's going to be really helpful and save you some time and energy from those, well, I don't know where to find it questions. And then the homepage comes in, which we didn't talk about homepages today, but we will, not today, but on another session. That's also where the homepage could come in linking them to exactly where you want them to go so that it's not overload. Because I'm sure when you first logged into your sandbox and you saw all those links on the left, it was probably very overwhelming. Like, I mean, imagine the kids, if they saw all those links on the left, like, where do I even click first? What do I even click first? You know what I mean? So, you know, minimizing the amount of stuff and kind of streamlining it for the kids and the parents, you know, to make it less overwhelming because they can't see all the stuff that you see unless you have it there for them to see it. So you basically control what kids and parents see. Like they won't be able to make assignments or do any of that stuff. All the kids can do is view the stuff that you've put on Canvas for them to see.
And this is really the reason that we decided to do pages and assignments before doing the home pages. I know you guys are, you know, thinking, well, I got to set up my home page first, but your home page is really just how you're linking to all of your content. And so really to start planning, we've kind of felt like you were going to be in a better place to be able to create some content and then be able to create the homepage and link to those modules to that content. Because that's what, when you create your homepage, that's what you're going to do. You're going to link it to all the other places in your Canvas course. Okay, so I'm back in an assignment. I clicked edit. I'm going to go to those three dots and I'm going to get this plug right here to plug it in. And one of my choices here is going to be 365, or at least it was this afternoon, Microsoft Office 365, all right? And then, I don't know if I'm signed in or not. It may or may not. Okay, yes, it took me there. Okay, and then I could go in here. I'm in my OneDrive now, and I could go in here and I could find whatever pages I wanted. So let's say I wanted this page on adding integers. Okay, that's the one I want. Maze worksheet. Okay, that's all good. Attach file. And then boom, it's attached right there. Okay, so that's just rather than pulling it off of your desktop, you're pulling it out of the cloud. And let's see, we actually open it.
And the great thing about this is that it will upload these PDF and Microsoft Office files directly into the student's OneDrive as well. So there's no, you don't have to worry about them making a copy of it. It gets automatically downloaded into there, and Office 365 will create a Canvas file in their OneDrive, and all of it will go in there.
When it's working. So you just saw right now, I embedded it just fine, but I can't open it. Even when I'm logged in, I can't open it. So they're still working on that. They're still embedding all of these tools. So just give a little bit of patience with it, but that will hopefully be working in the very near future. But it's the same thing. You could add, there's going to be a number of different tools that are going to be in here. As you can see, Khan Academy, Algebra Nation, Discovery Ed, all of our GAL resources are all already in here. So it's the same thing. You would click on that, navigate to the one that you wanted, click on attach, and it'll upload it right into your either your page or your assignment, because the rich text editor works exactly the same way for both pages and assignments. And there was a question about, well, you know, do I have to create an assignment to get in my gradebook? Yes, the same way that you did in EDSB. If you did not create an assignment in EDSB, you did not have a column in your gradebook. So you have to create an assignment. You could technically just go into assignments and put nothing in the text box and just fill in what you wanted, just like you used to in EDSB, and it would create it in your gradebook for you. Again, I don't think that that's best practice, and I don't think you're well served by that. You've got to plan anyway. You've got to have all your stuff someplace anyway. My beauty of it is this, okay, so I've got all my stuff in Canvas. I have a kid that gets quarantined for 14 days, or I have a kid that's absent for some other reason. They decide to go on vacation somewhere. Or, you know, I have an ESE kid that their IEP accommodation says additional instructional time. Well, if I've got a video or I've got documents there that they can review, I can just send them to Canvas. My job's done. It's all right there in Canvas. When I go to grade, when we do grading, you'll see when you go into grading, being able to grade it right there in Canvas, and it goes directly into your gradebook. Okay, you're not messing with all this stuff, and they can't say you lost it, and they can't say, no, I turned it in on time. It date and time stamps it. Okay, so there are so many upsides to actually creating in the modules and putting your stuff there, and that's really best practice. And let's face it, you know, we were forced into online learning and into a digital world, but we live in a digital world. The colleges have been using Canvas, and they've been having a number of their courses, even graduate courses, even med school courses that are through Canvas that are online. Okay, this is the way of the future. And once you create all of this stuff this year, next year you just take it from the one course and you import it into the next course. And then you just modify, tweak the pieces you need to tweak for next year, and your planning's done. Okay, so personally, I don't know why you wouldn't want to create in Canvas, but
I don't know either. So I mean, like Laura has said, and like Michelle has said, Canvas has been around for a long time, and not so much for the little ones, I understand, but for the middle school and definitely high school kids, this is what they are going to be using. 90% of the higher education are using Canvas. Blackboard is losing steam fast. So they're pushing more and more people to use Canvas. My son is at USF, and real quickly, here is his Canvas course for next year. And you can see that it's very basic. It's got the modules there, and this is exactly what they're used to. So if you're in high school and this is what you're used to seeing, you're good. We've done our job really to help prepare them for they're not going to be going, oh, hey, I don't have no idea what you're talking about. They're already set. We're setting them up for success and going forward. Even businesses are using Canvas. My husband is at USAA, and they use Canvas for all of their information that they use on their side, not the customer side, but on their side, everything is done through Canvas. So they even use it in business. So we are really setting our kiddos up to be successful in the 20th century using the tools of this generation.
I 100% agree. So I know that some people are probably concerned. I saw some stuff about pencil and paper assignments and how best to have students upload pencil and paper assignments. So when Laura was showing about how to create an assignment, remember that one of your options is, you know, that it could just be a paper assignment. Like that was one of your options for how students could submit was paper. So if the students do it on pencil and paper and you want to collect that pencil and paper assignment like you did when you had EDSB and hand grade it and type their grades in specifically to the grade book, you could do that too. They don't have to submit it electronically if you don't want them to. So if we're talking about kids that are face-to-face and Laura's showing it on the screen, you could select on paper, and then this just goes into your grade book. And then when you go into your grade book, you just grade it by hand, and then you physically type the kid's grade into the grade book just like you did when we had EDSB, right? So it doesn't have to be an electronic submission at all by any means. Now, if you choose an online submission, you also could still go to the grade book and type their grade in the grade book if a kid submits it to you pencil and paper. So like it's not, all or nothing basically. So,
Right.
If you want to take it both ways where you take the online and you take it on pencil and paper, choose online so that the kids have some options for submitting online. But if you have a kid that just wants to give it to you pencil and paper, then you can grade that kid's pencil and paper assignment and just type their grade into the grade book, and then their grade will be there. And then when your speed grader pops up, it would only pop up with the kids who submitted their grades electronically, right? And then the kids whose grades you did manually, they would already be there because you typed them in yourself. And that's okay too.
And the grade book will color code those boxes for you, but you have the choice when you're in the grade book of whether or not you assign a penalty or you automatically assign a 0 if it's not turned in. You don't have to do that. You can just leave it blank and you can manually input whatever you want, and you can manually override a grade anytime you want. Personally, for me, when we go back, I'm still going to do the online submission, and I'm going to have a document camera in my room if they don't have a cell phone, because there is a cell phone app for Canvas that works great for the kids. It really does work great for the kids. But if they don't have a camera and they can't take a picture of their assignment, they can come over to my document camera and take a picture there and upload it, because you have a record, and then you can provide them that feedback. And then when the parent comes in for conference night, you say, oh, well, let's look at Johnny's stuff. Let's see what he actually turned in on that assignment. Let's see why I gave him that grade. Okay? And I think it just covers you so many ways.
All right, so there's a question about conferences, the conferences section, and the conferences section is not exactly what it sounds like. The conferences section is more like live lessons, like within Canvas. I think using Canvas's live lessons software, which we use Zoom, so that wouldn't necessarily apply to us. It's not conferences like setting up a conference with a kid, if that makes sense. It's like conferences as in like if you set up a session, a live session, and then, they would go to conferences to click on the link to go to the live session. And we would be using Zoom for that. So you would actually use the Zoom link, not the conferences. And you would actually put your Zoom that you could set up. You would put that, either in an announcement or in your calendar, or you would make a page that says, like today's live lesson, and put the link on the page so the kids could click it to get to the Zoom. So we wouldn't necessarily be using conferences, I don't think. And I'm not sure, I am not sure if Zoom and conferences go together at all. So like, I don't feel comfortable saying that, yes, you can use Zoom in the conferences section, because I don't know if that actually is a thing. So I'm
trying it the next couple days.
Yep, yeah, exactly. Like, I guess we'll find out, but I don't know if that's actually a thing. So I'm not gonna say yay or nay on whether Zoom can be used in conferences. I don't know. All right, let's see. Discussions, yes, you could have a graded discussion. I saw a question about, do discussions go to the grade book? You could do a graded discussion, or it could just be a non-graded discussion. If the discussion is graded, then yes, it will show up in your grade book once you click that it's graded. It will make an assignment in the grade book for that discussion, and it will show up in your grade book.
And we'll cover that when we cover discussions. I'm not sure we'll do that tonight or not.
Yeah, I know, because a lot of people have questions.
To play, yeah. And we've got about a half an hour left.
I saw a question about unlimited space for recordings and uploads. I think that there's like a ton of space. It's like a few terabytes of space, isn't there?
Oh, it's more than that. It's,
yeah, like it's a ton of space. Hosting.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot. Like, there's a lot of space.
If you exceed it, we need to have some other type of conversation.
Yeah, I don't know if you can exceed the amount of space that they gave you to upload stuff.
This is per course, because it's in course settings. If I go into course settings and look, I have 90,000 megabytes of file storage available in each course.
Yeah. Per course.
So if you can fill that, we need to be having a special conversation.
Yep. I need to know how that's even possible.
Right?
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah,
So you should not run out of space.
I ran out of space once, but that was
Really?
yeah. But you know what? It's also because I'm the type of person that I don't delete things. So when you see my box, like my Google, I'm almost at my full amount of Google space on my Google Drive because I don't get rid of things. So you might have to go back through this and actually weed things out if you don't want them, delete them, get rid of them. But but then again, we're all teachers, so we all are closet hoarders. So I've got
really
closet in my garage that I just went through the other day. My husband's like, "Are you going to take this to school?" It was from when I taught elementary back in 2001. Now, for sure but you know what? I won't throw it away because you never know when I'm going to need it.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions that we didn't answer, like that we didn't answer live and you want us to answer, if you could type them again, because we're up to like 940 and I'm like trying to scroll down so I can see them all. So that I can see them all. And yeah, so I'm like trying to get down to the bottom, but if there's something we didn't answer, please definitely just retype it so that we can see it if we missed something.
And while you guys are doing that, I saw one question ask me to show the organization of my modules again. So this is the way I organized it. I had my module itself was Big Idea 5 in science. And then I had each individual lesson. And then, so they were labeled Big Idea 5, Lesson 1. My daily flow is literally what the lesson is. This is how I write my objectives. This comes out of some research from Cambridge. So this is all my objective. And then here's the standard that they are addressing on that particular day. And then underneath that is the actual lesson content. And then in this case, I gave them a little exit ticket to do. For lesson 2, again, their daily flow, a reading piece, an activity for them to do. And then I actually had them, after they worked on the activity, they actually had a discussion board that they posted to the discussion board to talk to each other about why they sorted the way they sorted. And then same thing, lesson 3, here's my daily flow, here's my content. This one was actually there wasn't a whole lot of content other than the activity they were going to do. It was basically the instructions. So I did it as an assignment and I just embedded all those instructions right up on the top of the assignment, right? And then they had here where these could open right inside okay, so these were the pieces that they needed. And then I eventually posted, I went back and did this afterwards. I went back and added the answer key for them. So that's another thing that you can do if you're looking at your kids, really being able to, I'm teaching middle school. I need them to there's going to be a lot of assignments that for me are formative that I don't want to spend a lot of time grading, but they need to have the feedback whether they got it right or wrong. I'm going to basically give them an up or down that they completed it, and they need to go in and look at those answer keys and kind of self-assess themselves to an extent. And then there's more of a summative or other pieces that are going to be worth much more in my grade book and that are going to have that more critical eye on it, if you will. Because we can't grade absolutely everything. We go nuts.
There was also a question about they use a lot of videos. So with Canvas, there is a link and an app to use Flipgrid. And that is an external tool that you can have all your students make all their videos so that they're not taking up your space on Canvas. So it is it's part of our single sign-on. They'll be able to go directly to Flipgrid, and you can have the assignments like, here, what do you do it? And then the kids can make their videos from there, link it, and then all you're doing is going to the link.
Right. And when you embed it, they just get a button that says record, and it'll make them, I don't know if it makes them sign in or not, but then it literally takes them into your Flipgrid. They make the video. It doesn't look like they're really not leaving Canvas, and they make their video and hit the upload. They can do the stickers, all the other stuff that they can do in Flipgrid. And then Flipgrid, when you look at it in Flipgrid and you grade it, I believe the grade comes back directly into your grade book.
Actually, I do you one better. If you embed it in your assignment, it shows up in your speed grader.
Yeah.
It's like their Flipgrid video shows up in your speed grader.
That's right.
So you can watch it.
I did hear
and
that.
then grade it while you're watching it. I actually had a colleague test it out for me as a student in one of my sandboxes so that I could see what it looks like. So it actually shows up in your speed grader as a Flipgrid video. You watch the video, you type your comments and put the grade in. So you don't even have to go.
When we did the pilot this last quarter, a lot of things weren't turned on because all the district systems weren't talking to Canvas, right? Canvas was kind of running on the side. So all of these things that are being embedded that you're going to be able to do, which are really, really awesome, they're embedding now. That's why some of them are a little bit glitchy right now, because they're still working on embedding all of it and making it talk to each other. Another one that you can embed is Nearpod. You can embed a Nearpod directly in here as well, and run them through a Nearpod and have them do all of the little activities in the Nearpod, take the poll, all the rest of the stuff. Answer the
Guy Sanders had a question about, can we use Microsoft Teams instead of Zoom? I have been told, this was what I was told when I asked the question at district, that Microsoft Teams is not going to be used with students. It will be used with adults, but not with students. That's what I was told. And that was as current as 2 days ago.
And somebody asked earlier about Google Classroom, and I answered one question and then I saw it pop up again, like it was way back, but I wanted to answer it out loud. So Google Classroom is actually its own learning management system. So like how Canvas, you can have a grade book and all this other stuff, Google Classroom is the same thing. So we use Canvas, and your Google Classroom grades are not going to talk to Canvas because Google Classroom is a separate learning management system. And so like any grades that you want the parents to actually be able to see and interact with your principals and that stuff, you want to keep it in Canvas. Like Canvas does like pretty much the same stuff.
And Google is not supported.
Yeah, we don't, and we're Office.
Yeah, and you have to be really, really careful because we're not, so like when we sign into Office, you know how if you went out to the internet and you signed into office.com, it takes you to the school district sign-in page. Mm-hmm. That's because there's a double firewall. Our students, in order to meet FERPA laws, our students are protected in Microsoft Office and in Canvas behind a double wall, okay? We are not a Google district. We have not bought the LMS that protects student data. So be very, very careful with anything that you do outside of the district, whether it's Google, whether it's Kahoot, anything else, with them putting any student information whatsoever into those systems, because you probably could have a problem with the
like a data breach or something like that.
Yep.
And then you also want to be careful because if it's your personal Google account, let's say, in order for you to embed stuff that's, from Google Slides or something like that, you have to put that link that comes from like your drive, unless you have like an account that you created just for work purposes. Just be careful, because whatever you put on there, they can see it. So just be very, very careful with whatever you put on your Canvas page. But yeah, I would not recommend using Google Classroom for anything, just exactly what Laura said, purely because of the FERPA. Yep. complications, like purely just because of FERPA, I wouldn't recommend it.
And
Right.
I always thought, well, I usually, my motto is always ask for forgiveness. But when it comes to technology and the safety of our kids, I always go to my tech guy and I ask him. And if he doesn't know the answer, he'll find it. But usually, if he doesn't know the answer, then it's probably not something that the district does. And so, but that's the most important thing, is our kids' safety, especially with everything that's out there. We don't want their information to go places where it's not supposed to go.
Right. And honestly, I mean, as districts go, granted, we're a huge district and it's a necessity for them to do so, but we really are provided a lot of really good tools that we should probably be able to make our classes our own and still color inside the lines, or at least on the page, right?
Yeah. Wow, so, all right.
All right, so I'm looking, I saw somebody ask something earlier, because again, I'm trying to like scroll down through my stuff. I saw someone ask earlier about how this all connects to Zoom. And if you're doing whole group instruction on Zoom, and do you then direct them to Canvas for independent work? So so that's part of that synchronous asynchronous piece. So for example, I did an amazing Avid Institute. I did Avid XP this summer. And our training was synchronous asynchronous. So which means synchronous as in we had face-to-face live training on a live platform, and then we had asynchronous where we then worked in Canvas, because they actually use Canvas for Avid as well, and we did asynchronous on Canvas where we did assignments on our own. So part of our day was face-to-face doing live work, breakout groups, interactive pieces, and then our work in the afternoon was all like one module on Canvas that we worked through on our own, and then we stayed logged in so we could ask questions if you had questions. So if you're thinking about kind of what that would look like, it could be that you do some Zoom, right, and then like maybe that's 20 minutes, because I mean you're not going to be on Zoom for like a full 50 minutes, that's crazy, but let's say you're on Zoom for 20 minutes and you do some face-to-face instruction, or 25 minutes you do some like a lesson that you have to do with the kids, and then the next part of the class is them working independently, whether it be independently on something in Canvas, independently on something on paper, or whatever the case may be. So that there's that. And I'm not sure what Canvas will look like, what Zoom will look like with Canvas either. Like what I was saying earlier, I don't know if, the kids will have to leave Canvas to use Zoom, or if the Zoom will work directly in Canvas. Like I haven't tried it yet, so I don't.
I suspect it's probably going to be separate, because I think we only purchased it for the year.
I think they bought like a whole license, but I also don't. Yeah, I don't know.
But I think it's only a 1-year license though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I don't know what that's going to look like. So
right. And,
yeah, I don't know.
Coming back to the exact thing that Michelle is saying is, we have to do, and the district will send us whatever information about seat time requirements in order to get the minutes, in order for us to get our dollars for our students. That's the whole thing about them having to be logged into your Zoom. Like middle school, they're supposed to follow their same bell schedule that they would follow if they were in a brick and mortar building. So they're just jumping from Zoom session to Zoom session to Zoom session. But I don't see how you really expect a kid to sit in front of a screen for 7 hours, right? So I think Michelle's exactly right. You log into the Zoom, you have a little bit of conversation, and you say, okay, now keep your Zoom on, and I need you to do this, and then I need you to come back. And you can even work with small groups, because they don't want us to do the breakout rooms, because kids can talk to each other and they can do things because there's no adult there to monitor them. However, you can put them in a waiting room and they see no one but themselves, okay? And so you could keep a small group in the Zoom and put another small group in the waiting room, and then you could switch groups, right? So that's kind of a way, you got to just kind of start thinking outside the box in how you can make sure that we're keeping kids safe, and we're doing those, because some of these rules are really there to keep kids safe, and that we're doing that piece of it, but that we're also able to get some of the collaboration and some of the other stuff. Maybe it's go sit in the waiting room and go on to Canvas and type in the discussion, right? So they're having a discussion in Canvas while they're sitting in the waiting room in Zoom, and they're logging their minutes because they're still in Zoom, right? And then you bring them back. So just, you know, try and be creative about how you might use the tools that we have.
Are any of you ladies familiar with EdGems? Somebody asked a question about adding a video from their EdGems curriculum and how they would do that. I'm not familiar with it, so I do not know.
I have used EdGems, and in fact, I was in the training because they have just, like in the last day, uploaded EdGems into Canvas. And I was actually in the training today. So let me finish typing this answer right here.
Perfect. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what that is. Let me defer.
It's the curriculum for math. And that curriculum is never going to go back into Clever. It's out of Clever right now. And it is not going back. Because Clever charges all of those people a fee to have stuff in Clever.
Gotcha.
So let me share my screen real quick. And let me go here. And I had some difficulty getting it to work today. Again, they're just in the parts of embedding it. But if you go into, and I think I actually put it in my sandbox. So if you go into one of the modules, so if you do a unit 0, there's no link to EdGems. If you go into any of the other units that they've created, there is an EdGems homepage, and you're supposed to be able to click on that and it take you into EdGems. And this is the issue that we were having today, is that people that were remote, that if you were not on the district server, it came up and said missing the state cookie and wouldn't let you go there. That's something that they're going to address with the tech people, because clearly we need to be able to plan at home. So that's just not going to work for us. So that was one that came up today that they're going to be working on. The other thing that you can do is that EdGems is over here on the side, and you can click it there as well. Because I'm at home, I'm not on the district server, I'm getting that same message. When I was in my modules today, the homepage for EdGems would not pull up anything for me. However, when I went over to the sidebar, I was able to pull up all of my content. So, and again, I can't show you now because I'm not on a district server, so it's not going to work. But that is where and how you would do it, and they are working on that. Like I said, they just embedded it yesterday. So it's coming.
Yep, yeah, they're working on getting all of that stuff in there right now. So I think that, you know, like definitely over the next week to 2 weeks, like more things will start popping up in there. More of those links in the corner will start working as they kind of start to load stuff. And I'm sure that most of you noticed when you logged in that, you know, there was that announcement across the top on your dashboard that said, you know, that your courses are beginning, you know, as your roster courses begin to be loaded, you'll start to see them appear, you know, over the next few days. So some of you may already have courses loaded, some of you may not yet. You know, I don't have any yet, for example. So, you know, just like they're putting things in like as we go, like more things are showing up. I noticed, Rob, that some people mentioned about, you know, having an Office 365 training and learning more about Office 365. I know the district used to offer some awesome Office 365 trainings taught by Chris Holt and like the technology team. I have not seen any in a long time, but Rob, I don't know if that's something you guys want to add to the list of things. I did see a few things in here about an Office 365 training.
We'll put it on the list.
Awesome. Moonits, I have the same question. Students without devices. We had the same question in our PLC today. I mean, if you're on campus, then, you know, doing a lot of this, you know, stuff on Canvas, if you don't have devices or the kids don't have devices, like I'd have no solution or answer. But if the kids are e-learning, then they're going to have devices because, I mean, if they chose e-learning, I would assume that they're either going to be getting them from the district or they already have them at their house already for themselves. So the e-learning kids will have devices. As far as in person in class, I don't know, because
So
you know,
what
I
we
guess it depends on
did,
the school.
so what I did in a separate school and county with Canvas is I treated Canvas like my actual, like I would do my PowerPoint. It got blown up onto the board, whiteboard. We used that. And then if we had an assignment that had to be done, if it was a quiz, then they pulled out their phones and they had the Canvas app on it. They used the Canvas app to take their question, to use it. If they didn't, there usually was a very small group, maybe 1 or 2 per grade class that didn't have any type of device. I usually have, I don't know how it is for everybody else, but 2 schools I've been in Hillsborough, there's a desktop in the classroom. That becomes, I would use that for the kids. They would use that desktop to submit their grades. You can have your document camera, put their picture. If they do paperwork, document camera can take a picture of it, then they upload it to their account. So really, there's not really any excuse for them not to be able to submit their assignments, because even if they did it on paper, they still can submit it by taking a picture of it and all those ways, like Laura said, and they can get it time stamped so that there's no, it's just a matter of you teaching the routine and the expectations from the beginning. So obviously the first 4 weeks were all online. Well, as of right now, it's still there. But you know, but when we go back to the brick and mortar, it's just setting up those procedures in your classroom. Here's how it's going to go. I mean, if you're lucky to have an extra iPad or something in the classroom, that becomes like, mine was my actual, I had an iPad that became the student's iPad. So they would go, if they forgot to submit their homework at home or wherever, they came right up, they got the iPad, they opened up their Canvas course, they took a picture of it and they uploaded. And that was the first thing they did before they sat down, because there was no, oh wait, you did it, what? What's that on my desk? Or what's that at the student? Just like your supplies, that's at the student supply. And once they get into the routine of it, it becomes second nature. I mean, I had the second half of the semester with my kiddos and in IPS, and they had the routine down. They understood how Canvas worked. I went through step by step, explaining everything to them. Like, here's this, here's that. We spent a couple days practicing, and then we just dove in. And these kids they're very adaptable. They will adapt to it, even though they may groan and fight you and tooth and nail. They get it very quickly. If they can learn how to floss, they can learn how to do this.
Exactly.
Okay, so we had a request for me to show one more time how to embed that video into an assignment. So let me do that.
And they will, that video, once it's embedded, will show up immediately for the kids once it's published. Like once the assignment, like once Laura hits save, if she does save and publish, it immediately shows up.
Yep. So let's just go here to blah, 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 right? I'm going to edit. And I've got this video out here on the black holes. So I go out here, I go to YouTube or TeacherTube or any place else. If they have a share and they have an embed code, you can do it from any of them. I find where it says share. So it's usually right underneath where the video is. So there's my video. I go right underneath. There's the share. I click on that. This very first one says embed. I click on that. I click copy. I go back over to my page in Canvas. And then I find that same little one that says it's what's called an HTML editor. That's the code, right? So I find that, but before I do that, I want to put some stars so I know where I want it to show up, right? So it's going to be easy for me to find it in my HTML editor. I click on my HTML editor. I find my stars. I go to the end of the stars. I hit Control V. It pastes it in there. And then I go back to my rich text editor. So I click this one more time. And boom, my video is embedded. And then I just backspace over my stars to take them out. They were just so I could find where to put it.
Can you show that one more time a little bit
Absolutely.
slower, Laura?
Absolutely. Let me take that one out. Okay, so I've gone out to YouTube. I have found the video that I want. I come underneath, I go to share. The very first share here, it's going to be greater than, less than sign. You're always looking for greater than, less than. That's your embed code. You don't even have to highlight all this. You can just hit copy. Now you can splice it, so you can put start at and splice it, but that's for another day. So you just go to copy, and then you come to your Canvas page. I want to know when I get over to my HTML editor, I want to know where to put it in because it's all code on the other page. It's going to be hard for me to find where to put it in. So I just put a little marker in here that I can easily find. I just use a row of stars. Then I go here to my HTML editor. I find my row of stars. I go to the end of where the little doodad is at the end of that. And I do Control V, which is paste. Universal language for paste. It puts my code right in there. And then I go back and I click on that toggle switch one more time. And it'll take me back to the rich text editor. And there's my video. Then if I don't want those stars there, I just backspace over them.
All right, so some people are asking about adding things from the Commons. So we did talk about that in our first session, and it's on the recording on the CTA YouTube page, but you would basically click on that C on the far left side of your Canvas page that says Commons, and then whatever it is you want to add from the Commons, you would click on it. So like whatever you found in Commons that you wanted to add, you would click on the thing you wanted to add, and then there'll be a blue button that says import. You would click that blue button.
So a billion things.
So now you're in Canvas.
And
now you're in Commons.
I have a module that's already been uploaded that they've made changes to, so that's why I'm getting this notification here to update it.
And be very careful with re-downloading updated things. It will erase anything that any changes you've made.
Correct.
So be careful.
That's why you're always better to duplicate and give it another name.
But yeah, so you basically click on the thing you want to download into your class. So you would just pick something.
So those of you that were asking about EdGems, if I look for Kate White, she has all of the modules in here, the first unit. You don't want to do the unit 0, that's the building classroom culture. You want one of the ones that's module 1, and that's not intensive because intensive math doesn't use EdGems. Or we could do regular 7th grade regular.
There you go. Yeah. So like once you click on it, right, there will be a blue button on the right side that says import download, right? You click that blue button and then you pick where you want it to go. So obviously we have tons of classes. You could drop it in your sandbox, which would be my vote for right now.
Yep.
So that you could at least practice with how you import something. And then once you select it, you click the blue button again to import it into the course that you have selected. So literally you find what you want, you click on the thing you want, you click the blue button that says import download, you select the class you want it to download to, and then you click the blue button again to import it. It may take a little while depending on the size of the file. So if it's a module that has lessons and all kinds and like assignments in it, that may take a little bit because all those assignments have to download. So like it could take a little bit. So if you don't see it right away, give it a little bit, refresh your page and it'll be there. So there it is.
It's not here yet.
Oh, it's not there yet? Okay.
Today when we were doing the training, we downloaded this one, the unit 1. That's 21 days, and you see how big this one is, and it downloaded in like a minute. So it also depends on just what else is going on, running in the background that it's having to process, but just be patient with it. And then the other question that I saw was with the parent guide. So if you click on help, you can actually see Hillsborough Canvas Family Guide, new.
Yep. They just added that.
That's the new course that they just added for parents. Yep.
I think that Superintendent Davis sent out a link today. You can always copy that link and paste it
you know, for parents to see if you wanted to. You know, if you have a class social media page and you wanted to paste that link for the parents.
And then here's the teacher's guide, the support hotline that you can call. You can do an online chat with them. They're really, really great. If there's truly a problem, something's not working right, not right now because our district's still uploading lots of stuff, but down the road, you can do that there. There's lots and lots of different trainings within Canvas. And it looks like they took the COVID stuff out. They had a whole set of COVID stuff in here too for a while. Okay. So there's just lots of things that you can do to help.
About points, Rob or Paula, I didn't know if you guys wanted to talk about that. A lot of people were asking about points and how you get points today.
Yeah, it's going to take a little while. There's a lot of you in here, and we got to get the class uploaded and then individually put everybody in. So yes, it will happen, but not tomorrow.
Yeah, I know at one point I looked and I think there was like 845 people in here. So
yeah, there were. I did not capture that many. You know, I needed the people who stuck around.
Right.
So, but yes, there's pretty close to 500 that I have captured for that, but it's just going to take a little bit of time.
Yep.
Right, there we go. I think we may have gotten everything. If there's anybody that we missed, it's like 7:56. If there's anybody that we missed, did you have a burning question? You know, please type it again. We're sorry. There's like 1,000 questions.
There is no reason that you need to be sorry. You guys have done another awesome job. I mean, you've been our little Sherpa through all of Canvas so far. My brain is swelling a little bit. I know that many of the members out there are probably feeling the same, but I think that you're helping us navigate it better and clearer. So thank you. With well over 800 people and well over 1,000 questions, you guys have done an amazing job tonight. So I want to thank you guys again. Thank you, Laura, Michelle, Tina. Thank you for Paula being here. We will capture this and we will share it on our HCTA YouTube channel so that way you can go back and reference it. But with that, I will ask that everybody have a good night, get a good night of rest. And thank you for everything that you guys are doing at your schools and for your students and community. So you guys are doing an awesome job. So thank you.
And just take a deep breath. Canvas will be okay.
Yeah, Canvas will survive. Even if you only do the bare minimum,
right,
and all you do is put assignments up there for the kids or only put things in your grade book so that you can type the grades in, Canvas will be okay. Like, it's going to be all right. Just breathe.
One page at a time.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so everybody have a whoa, just went from 112 to 115. Wow, they're still asking questions. Okay.
A lot of them are thank yous. A lot of them are thank yous.
You guys are very welcome.
And that means a lot to us.
It does.
It does.
I'm happy that we can help for sure.